This girl is named Xiang Yuan, and she's a game streamer with 5 million followers. She's also the granddaughter of the chairman of the Donghua Corporation. To avoid her grandpa pressuring her to get married, she reluctantly agrees to go to Xi'an to save a branch office that's on the verge of bankruptcy. After getting off the plane, Xiang Yuan chooses to take a rideshare to save money. Seeing a handsome guy not far away, she can't help but exclaim, "Wow, he's a total knockout." But then, taking a closer look, she realizes it's the guy she secretly crushed on in high school. Remembering how he rejected her back then, she just wants to find a hole and crawl into it. To avoid being recognized, Xiang Yuan pulls up her hoodie and tightens the strings to cover her face. But then something unexpected happens. The taxi suddenly breaks down and has to stop in the middle of nowhere. The other passenger, Gao Lung, starts to freak out, suspecting that he's gotten into an illegal taxi, especially with this hooded girl who looks like trouble. Xiang Yuan, hearing this, is speechless and decides to mess with him a little. Gao Lung gets so scared that he starts shaking. After that, the driver tells them that the tire is flat and tells them to call another car because they're out in the boonies and it's hard to get a ride. Gao Lung invites Xiang Yuan to continue sharing the car with them. But unexpectedly, Gao Lung snags the front passenger seat, leaving Xiang Yuan with no choice but to stick it out in the back. On the way, the conversation between Gao Lung and the driver makes Xiang Yuan misunderstand the situation. Because of that, she feels a pang of regret. She remembers how awesome Su Yinshi was back then, winning so many awards his arms were sore, practically guaranteed to get into college without even trying. But she pressured him so much that he had to transfer schools. And now he's a broke car salesman? Maybe after transferring, he felt so off balance that he didn't get into a good college. Feeling guilty, she sent a message to her best friend, Su Yin, telling her to remember to contact Yin Shi if she buys a car. Unexpectedly, not long after, Xiang Yuan, who's dozing off, gets a call from Su Yin. She forgets that her phone is connected to the car for navigation, and as a result, Yin Shi overhears the conversation. As she's awkwardly trying to figure out what to do, Yin Shi takes the initiative and says, "Long time no see. Even getting out of the car is even more awkward." The strings of her hoodie get tangled up because she's so flustered, and it's hard to untangle them. So, Yin Shi reaches out to help. Looking at how focused he is, Xiang Yuan can't help but be a little dazed. Even though he doesn't say anything else and leaves quickly, Xiang Yuan still feels embarrassed. Afterwards, she calls Su Yin to talk about how awkward the encounter was, and feels lucky that she won't be seeing him again. Otherwise, she really wouldn't know how to face him. However, the next day, Xiang Yuan goes to the company and is shocked to discover that Yin Shi is the team leader of the technical department at the branch, and she's a parachuted employee from headquarters. Before she left, her grandpa laid down 3 conditions: no financial support, no powerful position that could throw things around, and lastly, not to reveal their relationship. So, her position is just a team leader too. Even though on the surface the two of them have equal positions, to reduce the awkwardness, Xiang Yuan politely asks Yin Shi to guide her more in the future. After that, she follows him to the administrative office. On the way, she accidentally stumbles, but luckily Yin Shi is quick to catch her. The two of them lock eyes. Unexpectedly, Yin Shi tells her that this place isn't suitable for her and tells her to quit quickly. Then, he directly lets go, causing her fall on her butt. Xiang Yuan gets up, glares at him, and angrily leaves. Before leaving, she declares, "I definitely won't quit." After that, to get to know everyone, Xiang Yuan goes into the group chat and sends out lucky money to them. As soon as she sends them, she remembers that she's broke now, and it's too late to take them back. But her generosity doesn't get any thank yous. Instead, some colleagues say she's trying to buy people's hearts. There are even sarcastic comments, saying she's got a big connection and that someone who studied broadcasting should be stuffed in here. Plus, her resume is hilarious, with things like swimming, mountain climbing, anything and everything. Anyone who didn't know better would think she was sent by the Calabash brothers. But Xiang Yuan isn't discouraged and remains determined not to leave, trying to maintain an optimistic attitude. Later, at a staff allocation meeting, she chooses Gao Lung and Lin Qingqing to be her team members, knowing that the company's navigation product needs to be improved otherwise in some areas. Users will be directed into rice paddies. Xiang Yuan decides to take Gao Lung and Lin Qingqing on a survey to conduct field mapping, since Vice President Li Shun wouldn't approve the budget. Moreover, all the expenses will be paid out of her own pocket. The three of them are traveling and sightseeing. Have a lot of fun. Gao Lung is constantly posting pictures on his social media. His boasting attracts the envy of his colleagues, and also causes Xiang Yuan to be criticized. After all, a newcomer to the company, no one knows where she came from, and she disappears right after showing up. Also taking team members to travel everywhere. Yin Shi, knowing the inside story, speaks up for Xiang Yuan in the company group chat. He says that she's on a field survey this time, but because she's new to the company, she doesn't fully understand the rules and didn't ask for leave. When she gets back, he'll correct her. And on the other side, Xiang Yuan, who's mapping the terrain, suddenly drives into an area with no signal. Yin Shi, realizing she's lost contact, gets anxious and rushes to find her location until Xiang Yuan's car pulls into a gas station. In the evening, the navigation system and phone signal finally return to normal. Xiang Yuan finally feels relieved and calls Yin Shi. As a result, in a daze, he just casually answers the phone and doesn't pay attention. Because of this, Xiang Yuan can see his current state, and a smile can't help but appear on her face. The two of them keep each other company remotely, working overtime all night together. Until the next morning, Xiang Yuan realizes that all her movements have been seen by Yin Shi. Flustered, she doesn't say a word and quickly hangs up. But then, she feels like her actions were impolite. After all, he stayed in the office all night with her. So, she sends a message, saying that she came here to work seriously, and that the past shouldn't be mentioned again. Immediately after, she adds a sentence, "I haven't liked you for a long time." Yin Shi on the other end sees this, and his expression immediately changes, feeling a little lost in his heart. After working continuously for many days, Xiang Yuan's team finally completes the mapping. To celebrate their return, Yin Shi decides to cook a meal himself. On the car to Yin Shi's house, Xiang Yuan reviews the conversation between the two of them, seeing that he still hasn't replied and starts overthinking. She feels like she shouldn't have added the last sentence. Adding it is like saying I'm guilty. To hide her guilt, Xiang Yuan decides not to attend the welcome party prepared by Yin Shi. Unexpectedly, Yin Shi asks after knowing, "Didn't you say you didn't like me anymore? Why don't you dare come?" Xiang Yuan panics and tries to cover it up, saying she likes crawfish. "You guys are having hot pot today? I'm too hot-bodied and can't eat it, so I won't go." Unexpectedly, the taxi arrives at this time, and Yin Shi is already waiting downstairs, making her lose the opportunity to go home. Knowing that she planned to go buy crawfish, Xiang Yuan can only reluctantly say that she can eat hot pot too. Yin Shi now understands that crawfish was just an excuse for her not to come. But in the end, Yin Shi still decides to go to the supermarket. And what surprises Xiang Yuan even more is that everything he gets are her favorite foods. So he has always remembered her preferences. Xiang Yuan looks towards Yin Shi, a smile on her face, still feeling those old butterflies. When paying, she secretly buys 2 lollipops. Then on the way, she like a child takes it out and gives it to Yin Shi, and also lies that she specially picked them for him when she went on the field survey. As a result, the receipt in the supermarket betrays her. Xiang Yuan has no choice but to awkwardly shove the lollipops into his pocket. When the two of them just get home, suddenly a woman calls out to Yin Shi. It turns out that it's Qin Shu, the head of the company's sales department. Then, the two of them directly ignore Xiang Yuan's existence, talking nonstop. This makes her feel very uncomfortable, until she sees Gao Leng run over to hug Qin Shu. Calling her wife, Xiang Yuan realizes that she is Gao Leng's girlfriend. During the meal, Yin Shi even deliberately prepares Xiang Yuan's favorite dipping sauce. During the party, everyone laughs and talks happily. Afterwards, Xiang Yuan and Yin Shi go to one side, reminiscing about their school days. That year, the first time she saw Yin Shi, she immediately fell in love with him at first sight. Using the excuse of extra classes, she constantly bothered him. Seeing the relationship between the two of them getting better and better, Xiang Yuan then developed a delusion, thinking that he also liked her. Xiang Yuan prepared a thank you gift in advance, inviting Yin Shi to attend her birthday. At first, he agreed, but then inexplicably suddenly changed his mind, refusing to attend. Xiang Yuan chased after him to ask, but Yin Shi's attitude was extremely cold. Xiang Yuan was very angry, threw the gift she had meticulously prepared for him, and ran away crying. Until today, Xiang Yuan still doesn't understand why Yin Shi left back then. Faced with her question once again, he still refuses to explain. The next day, Xiang Yuan, out of habit, goes to buy an Americano, only to find that she doesn't have enough balance on her card. She texts Su Yin to borrow money. Su Yin quickly sends her 5,000 yuan. The company's signal processing module product is returned by the customer. Yin Shi, as the team leader of the technical team, is criticized by Li Shan. Xiang Yuan comes to find out where the problem lies. But Yin Shi tells her not to worry about it, because he himself doesn't want to care. This makes Xiang Yuan very angry, asking him why he doesn't care about anything now. She doesn't know what's happened to him these past few years, but he's changed a lot. Anyway, if you don't take care of this, I will. After speaking, Xiang Yuan rushes out and asks everyone to stay overtime at night to solve the product problems. However, everyone shows an attitude that it's none of their business. As expected, everyone runs away as soon as work is over. and only Zhang Jun is willing to stay. Just like that, the two of them work together to study the problems, while the other colleagues are having a pleasant dinner. At this time, some people talk about Xiang Yuan's background. Rinrin then says that the bag Xiang Yuan carries are all fake. And today, she didn't even have money to buy a cup of coffee. Yin Shi, after hearing this, uses an excuse to leave first. He goes to the lower level of the company, looking at the technical department upstairs with the lights on, his expression a little complicated. Not knowing how long has passed, Zhang Jun is slumped on the table asleep. Xiang Yuan discovers this and tells him to go home. So, Zhang Jun sends a message to Yin Shi. It turns out that Zhang Jun stayed overtime all at Yin Shi's arrangement. After Zhang Jun leaves, Yin Shi comes to the company. Xiang Yuan happily asks him if he deliberately came to help her. He pretends that he only came to get something from the office. Xiang Yuan can't help but be extremely disappointed. But Yin Shi, after getting his things, gets into his car and doesn't leave immediately, but stays downstairs quietly working overtime with her. In fact, when he first joined the company, Yin Shi was also full of enthusiasm, but was made difficult by Li Shun everywhere, and CEO Li Yongxiao didn't care, causing him to be unable to display his abilities. Finally, the technical team gradually stagnated. Moreover, the reason the product didn't meet customer requirements wasn't a technical one, but a financial problem. Now, motivated by Xiang Yuan, Yin Shi begins to systematically rework the product and relies on his own connections to seek preferential treatment on materials, with a complete optimization plan in the works. With the hard work of the team members, the product is finally released. After everyone leaves, Xiang Yuan comes to celebrate with Yin Shi with 2 cans of beer, unexpectedly getting advised by him to resign. He thinks that the Wayland company is not a place with room to develop. So she says, if you feel that Wayland is not a good place to develop, then resign, give the technical department to me, and I'll manage it for you. The next day, Xiang Yuan finds that her credit card debt is overdue. In order to pay off the debt, she can only tearfully part with her designer bag. But the amount of money she gets is just a drop in the bucket. Just at this time, she recalls a competition that she had seen before. If you win first place, there will be a lot of prize money. But because her technical skills are insufficient, she turns to Yin Shi, wanting to partner with him to participate. She keeps talking about the benefits of participating in the competition, but Yin Shi doesn't react. No matter how much she sweet-talks him, he doesn't change his mind and refuses. Yin Shi is not acting this way out of heart of stone, but has another reason. He knows that the company is about to go bankrupt, about to leave the navigation market. Therefore, even if they participate in the competition under the name of the company, no one will vote for them. But instead of explaining, he puts on a cold appearance, causing Xiang Yuan, who doesn't know the inside story, to grit her teeth in anger. However, later Yin Shi learns that Xiang Yuan is short on money, running around borrowing everywhere, and suddenly feels compassion. So he comes to find Xiang Yuan, telling her to go to a place with him. Knowing that he has changed his mind, Xiang Yuan is extremely happy. The two of them go to a computer repair shop, where the shop owner Wang Kai is Yin Shi's friend, and also a master of technology. Yin Shi plans to use his name to participate in this team competition. Wang Kai happily agrees. Xiang Yuan again feels a little uneasy because of this. She asks Yin Shi, wouldn't this be considered moonlighting? If people in the company find out, will they snitch? After he hears this, he tells her that she must hide it from her colleagues in the company. Just like that, because of the competition, the two often communicate. But these days, secretly working overtime makes Xiang Yuan feel uncomfortable. Sneaking around is like having a secret love affair. Today, the two are discussing with each other when CEO Li suddenly walks in, startling both of them. After he leaves, Xiang Yuan feels that continuing like this is not good. Once they are discovered using someone else's name to participate in the competition, it will cause them trouble. Therefore, she suggests that they discuss it at her house later, so they can conveniently invite Wang Kai over as well, so the three of them don't have to worry anymore. The next night, when Yin Shi arrives at the door, he sees that Xiang Yuan's place doesn't look poor at all, and feels a little surprised but doesn't say anything. On the other hand, Wang Kai, who arrives later, asks, the rent here isn't cheap, right? Xiang Yuan then lies that a friend is letting her stay here. Wang Kai acts like he understands, thinking that this house belongs to her boyfriend. Yin Shi immediately retorts, she doesn't have a boyfriend. Later, during the discussion, Wang Kai stares at Yin Shi and Xiang Yuan, feeling that their relationship is not simple. Helplessly, neither of them wants to admit it. At this time, the neighbor Lu Dong comes to knock on Xiang Yuan's door, giving her cake. Today is his son's birthday. Yin Shi sees such a handsome and rich neighbor. Doesn't show any expression on the surface, but jealousy arises in his heart, and he doesn't even let Wang Kai eat the cake. Because a friend is seriously ill, Yin Shi is about to return to Shanghai for a while. Therefore, he half instructs and half warns Wang Kai that before he comes back, he is absolutely not allowed to come to Xiang Yuan's house alone, even if she invites him. Just at this moment, Yanshi receives news that his friend's condition has worsened and needs urgent surgery. Therefore, he hurries back to Shanghai and also immediately contacts Xiang Yuan's uncle, who is a cardiovascular expert. Unexpectedly, he is unable to connect, but he doesn't give up. After contacting him many times, he finally learns from others that he is traveling abroad, so he has to give up in disappointment. Unexpectedly, after the surgery is over, Yanshi discovers that the person who operated on his friend is actually Xiang Yuan's uncle. It turns out that Xiang Yuan called directly to the hotel he was staying in, waking him up from his sleep and constantly bothering him, forcing him to return home. Knowing that Xiang Yuan was helping behind the scenes, Yanshi is extremely touched, but he doesn't know that in order to get her uncle to return home, she is even more in debt, spending 20,000 yuan to buy him a first-class plane ticket. Even so, it was worth it if it could solve Yanshi's urgent problem. At this time, Li Shun starts to put pressure again, demanding that the technical department handle the previous product orders. Xiang Yuan decides not to wait for Yanshi to return, and she and Chun Shu work together to solve this problem. Unexpectedly, she accidentally messes things up at the dinner table, rendering all previous efforts useless. Yanshi just helps his friend out of the hospital and accidentally sees Xiang Yuan. Seeing her dejected appearance, he silently takes off his scarf and puts it on her, but doesn't say anything. Soon after, Chun Shu calls to inform him of the cause of the incident. It turns out that the customer was talking badly about Yanshi, and Xiang Yuan, hearing this, felt dissatisfied, so she pretended to be drunk and vomited all over the customer. Currently, Li Shun is extremely angry, declaring that if this matter is not resolved, Xiang Yuan will be fired. After Yanshi learns of this, he decides to wait until after the holiday and go with Xiang Yuan to find the customer to solve this problem. The two of them finish eating and go out. Xiang Yuan accidentally meets a high school classmate and is invited to a class reunion. Yanshi, being the school's male god, is also invited. As a result, at the party, they meet Zhongling. Back then, she greatly admired Yanshi. Meeting him again this time, she constantly shows off, although Yanshi doesn't react. Xiang Yuan is very unhappy. Afterwards, Zhongling takes a bottle of mineral water, asking Yanshi to help her twist open the bottle cap. Yanshi instinctively glances at Xiang Yuan. Seeing her angry expression, he takes the bottle and passes it to the friend next to him, lying that his hand was injured while playing basketball. Xiang Yuan then turns anger into joy. After that, everyone suggests playing a game together. Zhongling again sits next to Yanshi and also deliberately creates physical contact with him. Xiang Yuan, seeing this, gets angry and goes directly to Li Yang's side, replacing him in the game. Xiao Bei suggests they play a round, and if Xiang Yuan's team loses, she has to go see a movie with him. Xiang Yuan agrees without thinking. As a game streamer with 5 million followers, she is very confident in her skills, of course mainly motivated by Zhongling. Yanshi is very surprised, and not wanting his team to lose, he starts to change his lazy attitude, his whole being becoming sharp. The battle is therefore extremely intense. Under the coordination of Xiang Yuan and Yanshi, victory is within reach. However, Zhongling, as a teammate, snipes from behind. Xiang Yuan immediately criticizes her, asking what she wants to do, whether she is deliberately trying to get Xiang Yuan to go see a movie with Xiao Bei. This time, Yanshi is also angry, secretly killing Zhongling in front and then casually saying, "Sorry, I mistook you for someone else." Xiang Yuan, seeing this, feels secretly refreshed. After getting rid of the troublemaker, their team quickly wins. The game ends, and everyone disbands, going back to their own homes. On the way, Xiang Yuan kicks a can under her feet, saying directly that she hates Zhongling. Yanshi picks it up and throws in the trash can, and then says he also noticed because the way she dislikes someone is too obvious. After hearing this, Xiang Yuan takes the opportunity to ask him, "Then, do you think the way I'm looking at you is liking or disliking?" Yanshi doesn't answer, but uses the excuse that there is a car coming and pulls her into his arms. At this moment, the hearts of the two of them must be very warm. After that, the two get in the car and go home. Xiang Yuan is still immersed in the hug from just now when suddenly her grandfather's secretary calls. The other party reminds her to be careful, that the relationship between Yanshi and Chun San is not normal. Previously, Chun San gave Yanshi 15 million yuan, and that is why he came to work at the Whalin branch. When Xiang Yuan came to Whalin, they originally assigned a position of team leader to her. But Chun Sen insisted on keeping Yanshi's position as team leader. Therefore, the technical department established a second team for Xiang Yuan to manage. After hearing this, Xiang Yuan's mood immediately drops to the bottom. She wants to ask Yanshi about this, but realizes she doesn't have the right, so she angrily leaves alone. Yanshi doesn't understand and quickly chases after her, asking why she is angry. Xiang Yuan only says that she has suddenly figured some things out and doesn't want to waste any more time. Yanshi also doesn't continue to press her, just silently putting her scarf back on her. Just when she thinks that things are developing in a good direction, a phone call puts everything back in its place. The next day, Xiang Yuan goes to headquarters to participate in training and accidentally meets her grandfather there. In order not to reveal their identities, the two pretend not to know each other and even have a dispute over the elevator. The staff around are shocked, and everyone feels that she is very brave. Afterwards, Xiang Yuan rushes downstairs to wait for a taxi to the airport and accidentally meets Director Chen-san at the door. In order to clear the doubts in her heart, Xiang Yuan cancels her ride and asks Chen-san about her relationship with Yanshi. Chen-san naturally knows Xiang Yuan's identity and also guesses that she likes Yanshi, so she immediately explains to her. The rumors about the two of them in the company are not true. They're just in a relationship of mutual help. Then, she also tells Xiang Yuan and Yanshi to be well together. Xiang Yuan suddenly realizes that she shouldn't have doubted him and can't help but feel a little regret. On this side, Yanshi's friend has gradually recovered, so he also returns to Xi'an. And Xiang Yuan, because of talking with Chen-san, misses her flight and has to stay in Shanghai for another day. To kill time, she randomly chooses a car key and then goes with Su Yin to her friend's livestream. C.A. Shun is a famous professional esports god and is invited onto the stage as a lucky guest. Coincidentally, Gao Lung is watching the livestream and is very surprised to suddenly discover that Xiang Yuan is sitting next to C.A. Shun. Everyone, after hearing this, immediately surrounds Gao Lung, and Yanshi in the office, on the surface has to maintain a cold attitude, but in his heart is very curious about this matter. Therefore, he calls Gao Lung in, demanding the link to C.A. Shun's livestream. His unusual reaction surprises everyone, but thinking about how C.A. Shun is both handsome and famous, it's normal that he would feel threatened. Gao Lung, after hearing this, thinks he has to do something for his boss. His boss can't lose. Saying this, Gao Lung quickly spends money to buy colored comments, declaring that he will lock up Yanshi and Xiang Yuan. Xiang Yuan, seeing this, feels speechless, but also worried that Yanshi will have misunderstandings. She sends him a message, asking if he is watching the livestream. Yanshi also doesn't deny it. C.A. Shun turns to ask her who she is texting, and Xiang Yuan casually says, "My boyfriend." Yanshi, who is watching the livestream, his eyes light up at that moment. Gao Lung and the others are also very surprised, not knowing when Xiang Yuan got a boyfriend. Yanshi is in a very happy mood and rarely treats everyone to a late-night snack. He knows that Xiang Yuan will be very embarrassed to say the words boyfriend, so he calls her saying he's not watching the live. Just as words dispel Xiang Yuan's psychological burden. The next day, Xiang Yuan takes a plane back to Xi'an. Yanshi specially comes to pick her up. When she comes out of the airport, seeing his back, she suddenly wants to tease him. She just puts on her sunglasses and directly walks past Yanshi, who is standing on the side, until he pulls her suitcase. She pretends to be surprised, saying, "You're so handsome today, I didn't recognize you." Xiang Yuan takes the opportunity to seriously look towards Yanshi, but as a result is told by the little boy next to her that the two of them are about to kiss. The atmosphere has a bit of awkwardness in an instant. Luckily, Yanshi quickly pulls Xiang Yuan away. After taking her home, he even intimately helps her tie her scarf. Xiang Yuan is extremely happy in her heart. The next day at the company, Xiang Yuan overhears colleagues from other departments criticizing her. It's about her taking the elevator with the chairman at headquarters, because the travel expenses were unreasonable, resulting in employees on business trips not being able to arrange their time properly. Xiang Yuan said a few words to the chairman, which was known by the staff at headquarters. They are afraid that her offending the chairman will affect their year-end bonuses. Xiang Yuan is about to retort, but Yanshi takes a step ahead. He says that she is a member of the technical department, and if there is anything, the entire technical department will take responsibility. To solve this problem, Xiang Yuan contacts her grandfather, requesting a modification to the travel expense reimbursement for the Wayland branch. Unexpectedly, her grandfather refuses outright. She had just offended the client a few days ago, and Wayland's revenue for next year will become negative growth. The outcome of bankruptcy will not change, but Xiang Yuan still hasn't given up. Before coming to Xi'an, her grandfather gave her 3 life-saving feather. This time she decides to use one. Only then does he agree to approve the modification of the travel regulations. Afterwards, her grandfather throws a feather into the trash can and sends it to Xiang Yuan, only 2 feathers left. Afterwards, everyone receives documents from the head office. which is the approved travel expense reimbursement modification measure. Besides that, there's also an employee classification table. Everyone discovers that Xiang Yuan is actually a Class A employee. In all of Weilin, only CEO Li and Li Shun were Class A, and now they're Xiang Yuan. This makes everyone can't help but suspect her background. The next day, Xiang Yuan accidentally overhears 3 of the run bad-mouthing Yin Shi, and feels very uncomfortable in her heart. Then she hears them going downstairs to buy milk tea, and Xiang Yuan immediately comes up with an idea. She hurriedly runs back to the office, telling everyone to quickly order whatever they want to drink. Xiang Yuan intentionally pulls Yin Shi along before leaving. While Ren is talking to the milk tea seller, Xiang Yuan suddenly cuts in and then starts reading out the order, saying that Ren is treating today, and to put everything on her tab. Ren, for the sake of face, can only smile and acknowledge. Xiang Yuan, after finishing her business, directly pulls Yin Shi and hurries away. By the time she reacts, she realizes she is still holding his hand. Xiang Yuan awkwardly lets go and shyly hurries away. Back in the office, she tries to calm down. Suddenly, Secretary Bai calls, saying that Yin Shi is Chun San's boyfriend and also has photos as evidence. Xiang Yuan, after seeing the photo, the smile on her face immediately disappears, and tears can't be controlled from flowing. Therefore, her attitude towards Yin Shi changes 180 degrees, and Yin Shi at this time is looking for date locations online, and hasn't realized that Xiang Yuan's attitude has changed until Xiang Yuan repeatedly refuses his invitations to eat, and her attitude is also very cold. Yin Shi then starts to wonder, why is she refusing me? He really doesn't understand her psychology, so he decides to go online to find the answer. The answer is, she's playing hard to get. Next, he accidentally sees a girl getting guyed by a vlogger, so he immediately starts learning. Coincidentally, tonight there's a drinking party to meet clients. Knowing that Xiang Yuan is feeling sick, Yin Shi takes out a cold pill, lies that it's a hangover pill, and tricks her into taking it. Then, at the party, Xiang Yuan is very understanding, buying a new suit and tie, bowing her head to apologize to the client for the last time. Yin Shi also knows how to talk, and just a few words make the client happy. But apologizing still has to be done. The client pours a full glass of wine, saying if Xiang Yuan is truly sincere in apologizing, she must drink it all. Yin Shi stands up and says that she took cold medicine this afternoon and drinks this glass for her. This is called creating an opportunity. Immediately after, with each glass of white wine down the hatch, the client finally releases his anger and signs the contract on the spot. This is called hero saving the damsel. Then, Yin Shi starts to pretend to be drunk, but says that he will go back to the company to work overtime, causing Xiang Yuan to feel worried in her heart, and also follows him. This is called showing weakness appropriately. After returning to the company, he doesn't do anything, just invites her to watch the moon and the stars together. Yin Shi takes out his phone, opening a very beautiful constellation app, making Xiang Yuan very happy. This is called creating a romantic situation. Finally, when Xiang Yuan can't switch the screen, Yin Shi goes behind her, showing her how to use it. This step is called physical contact, and Xiang Yuan, under these steps, has long fallen into enemy hands. Suddenly, she turns her head, and the two of them just truly kiss like that. After a while, the two hurriedly and awkwardly separate. When she gets home, Xiang Yuan can't sleep all night. The image of the two of them kissing constantly flashing in her mind. And Yin Shi, as the initiator, also has a hard time calming down for a long time. The next morning, Gao Lung comes to the company and sees Yin Shi, asking him how it went. He mentions that he didn't go home last night not because he was working overtime, but because he was calculating when he could pay off all his debts and then save money to get married. Gao Lung is shocked and immediately asks if he has a girlfriend, but Yin Shi says he is still pursuing her. Gao Lung is surprised. Who still needs you to pursue them? A new target. Yin Shi glances towards Xiang Yuan's seat, the corners of his mouth slightly turning up, and casually says, "It's always been her." At this time, a colleague suddenly rushes into the office announcing that a camera was discovered in the women's bathroom. Yin Shi realizes the seriousness of the situation and quickly tells them to call the police and temporarily hide this matter. Not long after, Xiang Yuan comes over. Because she is still embarrassed about yesterday, she basically doesn't dare to face Yin Shi and quickly sneaks into the bathroom. Yin Shi, after hearing that she wants to go to the bathroom, quickly chases after her, managing to grab the collar of Xiang Yuan before she enters. After confirming that the men's bathroom is empty, he pushes her inside, while he stands outside guarding the door. After Xiang Yuan comes out of the bathroom, she learns about the camera. Gao Long tells her that the high probability is that Li Qi did it, because this person's character is not good besides installing cameras. He also likes to secretly photograph female colleagues. Xiang Yuan expresses her dissatisfaction with this, thinking that speculating without evidence can ruin innocent people. After Li Qi arrives, recognizing that everyone's gaze towards him is not normal, he takes advantage of Gao Lung leaving and peeks at the group chat on his computer. Knowing that everyone suspects him, he is extremely angry and directly calls the police to check his computer in front of everyone. As a result, there is nothing abnormal, but they discover a photo of Qin Shu. Seeing that Li Qi dares to covet his girlfriend, Gao Lung instantly gets angry, punching him in the face, indirectly leading to Xiang Yuan next to him hitting her head on the corner of the table and fainting. Yanshi receives the notification and quickly runs over, carrying the dazed Xiang Yuan to the hospital. The doctor says that they can't rule out the possibility of a concussion, so they suggest that Xiang Yuan be hospitalized for 1 day for examination. When Yanshi prepares to leave, the doctor casually asks him if he is Xiang Yuan's boyfriend, and he doesn't hesitate to admit it. A patient in the same room asks Xiang Yuan if Yanshi is her boyfriend. To this, Xiang Yuan flatly denies it, and even adds, he has never had a girlfriend. I don't know if he has a hidden illness or not. Unexpectedly, Yanshi just so happens to hear this, and also lightly says, this is something for just the two of us to know. Don't tell everyone you meet. Xiang Yuan is extremely embarrassed and wishes she could find a hole to crawl into, but Yanshi doesn't mind and even intends to use this opportunity to confess his feelings to her. Xiang Yuan is initially a little flustered, then tactfully rejects him. What I wanted at 16 years old, I might not still want at 26 years old. Some things that have been missed are missed. You will find someone better than me. Watching his figure leaving, Yanshi looks very lonely. In fact, Xiang Yuan's rejection is entirely due to a photo from which a misunderstanding arises. But how could she know that Yanshi has liked her since high school? Back then, the teacher told him that the school was waiving his tuition and incidental fees, only hoping that he could study without being distracted, and strive to be directly admitted to Tsinghua University. But even so, he unconsciously developed feelings for Xiang Yuan. It's just that later, because his father had accumulated heavy debts outside, to avoid creditors, he had to move to another city with his father, so he couldn't attend Xiang Yuan's birthday party. He buried this feeling deep in his heart and chose satellite positioning as his major in college, because he believed that as long as the stars are connected, one day he will find the girl in his heart. Unfortunately, although he's found her now, the result is not as desired. Just like that, Yanshi sits alone all night. The next morning, seeing that Xiang Yuan is still sleeping soundly, he helps her order breakfast before leaving. Xiang Yuan is eating very happily, suddenly hearing voices outside, thinking that Yanshi has come, and quickly pushes the breakfast aside. Unexpectedly, the person who comes is Su Yan. Su Yan is very surprised to learn that she rejected Yanshi's confession last night, and also feels happy, because Yanshi in the past never showed mercy when rejecting others. Afterwards, Xiang Yuan, having just returned to the company, hears her colleagues talking about the male lead in a melodramatic novel. He was once a proud school male god, but because his confession was rejected, he followed the call of King Yama. Xiang Yuan immediately thinks of Yanshi after hearing this. Looking at the empty office, she can't help but panic, and hurriedly goes out to look for him. She worries that her rejection will cause Yanshi to be hit hard, and hurriedly calls him. But all of them go unanswered. After that, the elevator door opens, and Yanshi suddenly appears before her eyes. Xiang Yuan can't help but feel extremely embarrassed, especially since he found her calling his phone number. Yanshi takes out his phone, discovering that there are 9 missed calls, and says that he didn't notice. It was on silent, asking her what she wanted him for. Xiang Yuan quickly makes up a reason, saying that she came out to buy something. Yanshi mistakenly assumes that she has her period, asking her which brand of sanitary napkins she needs. Xiang Yuan, after hearing this, quickly denies it, saying that she only wanted to ask him to buy coffee. Afterwards, the police come to the company to investigate the previous camera incident. Xiang Yuan is also called in to be questioned, but when facing the police, she suddenly remembers the misfortune from her childhood. Because her father's death left her with psychological trauma, she suddenly feels dizzy and lightheaded. When she is about to fall, Yanshi rushes over in time to support her head, and then provides information to the police in her place. The police receive a phone call midway, confirming that Li Qi is not involved. They have found the real culprit, and it turns out to be the pipe repairman who secretly installed it during the repair process. After the police leave, Yanshi can't help but blame Xiang Yuan for not paying attention to her health and liking to rush into things. Xiang Yuan is angrily speechless and has no choice but to leave. Yanshi quickly pulls her back, but as a result, she shakes his hand off. He quickly apologizes for his attitude just now. Xiang Yuan only says forget it perfunctorily and angrily leaves. Afterwards, Yinshi tells everyone about Li Qi's situation, but he doesn't show any emotion, throwing his employee ID card on the ground with a bad attitude, saying that he doesn't want to stay in this damn place anymore. Gao Long chases after him to apologize to Li Qi, but he uses words to deliberately provoke Gao Long. Gao Long once again acts impulsively, directly wrestling with him. This makes Chun Shu extremely angry, proposing to break up on the spot. Xiang Yuan knows the reason for Chun Shu's choice. She tells Gao Long that everyone has a lens that can see many sides of themselves, but as an adult, they must keep each side clean, tidy, and shiny. Especially Chun Shu, coming from a small town, isn't she working hard to achieve enough sales so that she can be transferred back to headquarters and stay in Shanghai? However, that punch from Gao Long shattered her reputation. In this society, women are already more easily criticized and blamed than men. If they work hard, they're said to neglect their families, and if they take care of their families, they are said to rely on men. If Gao Long was willing to think from Chun Shu's perspective, he wouldn't have acted so impulsively. That night, Gao Long thinks a lot, feeling extremely regretful, wanting to send a message to apologize to Chun Shu, but then deletes each word one by one. The next day, Xiang Yuan buys a cup of milk tea for Yinshi. Yinshi, upon seeing it, immediately realizes that she must have something to ask him. Xiang Yuan asks him when the design for the freight navigation system will be available. He says about 3 more days. Xiang Yuan is preparing to leave, when Yinshi suddenly says that she should go with him to inspect the terminal system of the truck tomorrow. After Xiang Yuan leaves, Yinshi can't help but take a sip of the milk tea. He says it's hard to drink, but his body is very honest. The next day, the two of them follow the experimental vehicle and modify any deviations of the truck navigation system in a timely manner. In their free time, Xiang Yuan looks at the beautiful scenery before her eyes, feeling very relaxed. Yinshi sees this scene and immediately takes out his phone to take a photo to save it, unexpectedly getting discovered by her. Therefore, he sends a photo to Xiang Yuan. Unexpectedly, she realizes after seeing it that she is just an insignificant detail in a small corner of the photo. This truly leaves her speechless. And on the company's side, Li Shun develops evil intentions due to vying for power and profit. Previously, the Weilin company mainly focused on the car navigation market, but now Xiang Yuan is working on the truck navigation system. Once the research and development is successful, it will affect Li Shun's prestige. Li Qi tells Li Shun to relax, saying that everything is still in his hands. With only 1 day left until the design submission date, Xiang Yuan and Yinshi rush back to the company to work overtime all night with a group of colleagues, finally completing the work early the next morning. Seeing that everyone has fallen asleep, with only Li Qi still awake, Yinshi asks him to complete the final touches. As a result, this provides the opportunity for the other party to take action. Fortunately, at the end of the workday, Xiang Yuan tells Yinshi that the drawing has been sent to the factory. Yinshi can't help but feel skeptical after hearing this. When the technical team sends an email, he should receive a copy, but he hasn't received any emails. Therefore, the two hurriedly return to the company to check the content of the email that was sent. Sure enough, they discover that the drawing is incorrect. Xiang Yuan hurriedly contacts the factory, sending the correct drawing again, just in time before production. This has avoided a large loss. But Xiang Yuan is very angry about Li Qi's actions, demanding that he explain himself. Unexpectedly, he is not afraid, saying, "It may be true that I accidentally sent the wrong document, but don't forget before sending it for the last time. I gave it to you to check and sign. If you continue to pursue it, neither you nor I will escape." But the so-called signature was precisely when Xiang Yuan was the busiest, and Li Qi repeatedly urged her to sign quickly. Xiang Yuan knows she has been used, but can't do anything about it. Therefore, she goes to find Yinshi, wanting to transfer Li Qi out of the technical department. But Yinshi says that the relationship between Li Qi and Li Shun is not to be trifled with, and it won't be easy to transfer him. Xiang Yuan develops dissatisfaction, thinking that he is covering for Li Qi, so afterwards, whenever Yinshi wants to buy something, she rushes to buy it all before him. After returning to the office, Xiang Yuan tries to eat a little. As a result, it's too difficult to eat. She doesn't understand how Yinshi can like these things. Next, she throws each one into the trash can. Soon after, Xiang Yuan goes to find CEO Li, but still can't achieve her wishes. Afterwards, she finds her grandfather again. But upon hearing that she has to use a feather, she immediately gives up. Afterwards, Gao Long tells her that Yinshi was also previously a person who clearly distinguished between right and wrong, and worked hard hoping to be transferred to headquarters. But the company has too many princelings, so there wasn't a spot for him. Afterwards, Li Qi comes to find Xiang Yuan to provoke her again. even saying, "Someone like you, all style and no substance." He didn't even notice that the drawing was changed. The more she doesn't want him to do something, the more he wants to do it. Facing the arrogance of the other party, Xiang Yuan is truly angry. Therefore, she once again files a complaint with her grandfather, the chairman, but he drones on, telling her not to delay the big picture for small details. Xiang Yuan throws the phone on the table and turns on the TV to watch. Waiting for 2 hours, she picks up the phone, and, as a result, she still hears the other party droning on. She can only regretfully use a feather again to make a decision. But this time, her grandfather not only agrees to Xiang Yuan's request, but even decides to promote her to head of the technical department. Xiang Yuan can't help but worry, feeling like she is using connections to oppress Yin Shi. So, she smiles and recommends Yin Shi to her grandfather, thinking that no one is more suitable to be the head of the technical department than him. As a result, she is rejected miserably. Finally, Xiang Yuan, wanting to be worthy of the name, decides to start learning technology. Moreover, she fantasizes that one day Yin Shi and Gao Long will both be at a loss, and she will appear, tapping a few times to help them solve the problem. Unexpectedly, life is not like a dream. She reads books all day long, but it's too difficult. She can't understand anything. So she decides not to bother learning anymore. And Yin Shi, at this time, is on a business trip in Shanghai. Because he's worried about Xiang Yuan, afraid that she will be made difficult by Li Qi, he asks Gao Long to help him keep an eye on her, asking about Xiang Yuan's situation at all times. Gao Long is speechless and directly sends a photo of her to Yin Shi. Looking at Xiang Yuan in the photo, Yin Shi's heart is filled with joy, not even noticing Chun stand next to him talking to him. It isn't until the other party calls out loudly several times that he regains his senses. Chun Sen asks about Xiang Yuan's performance, and also tells Yin Shi to take care of her more. From Chun Sen, he learns that Xiang Yuan's mother is a global positioning system expert. When Xiang Yuan was 5 years old, she participated in a children's aviation knowledge competition and won an award. Yin Shi immediately remembers the little girl he met when he was young, realizing that their fate may have started at that time. But Chun Sen doesn't tell Yin Shi that Xiang Yuan is the chairman's granddaughter. In the evening, Yin Shi calls Xiang Yuan to ask about her study progress, and as a result discovers that she still doesn't know anything. Afterwards, through the remote assistance function, he starts online teaching and types a piece of code for her to try running. As a result, a pink heart appears on the screen. This makes Xiang Yuan extremely happy. The next day, Yin Shi returns from his business trip, specially buying Xiang Yuan a cup of milk tea, wanting to give her a surprise. Unexpectedly, he is the one who is more surprised. He sees her getting out of the fancy car of her neighbor, Lu Dong. Yin Shi immediately misunderstands, and with an angry expression, turns around to leave. Xiang Yuan, seeing this, hurriedly chases after him. Previously, Lu Dong offered to give her a ride to the company because it was along the way, and she agreed because she felt it would be rude to refuse. But she didn't tell Yin Shi about this, and instead, she was worried about how her promotion to head of the department would bring a shock to him. Therefore, she says she has something to say to him, but then says she'll tell him later. This time, Yin Shi is even more upset, and directly shoves the milk tea into her hand, saying that he doesn't want to drink it, and tells her to throw it away. As a result, Xiang Yuan very naturally drinks one sip after another. Yin Shi stares blankly, completely not expecting that she doesn't mind that he already drank from it. Therefore, he takes it back again, leaving Xiang Yuan confused. Soon after, the company organizes a meeting. CEO Li announces the promotion of Xiang Yuan to head of the technical department. Everyone in the technical department is very surprised, and everyone feels injustice for Yin Shi, but Yin Shi himself doesn't care. Next, Xiang Yuan announces the transfer of Li Qi to the logistics department. Li Qi and Li Shun both strongly oppose this, until CEO Li announces that he will follow the headquarters instructions, and everyone disperses. After returning to the technical department, Xiang Yuan is gossiped about by her colleagues. Xiang Yuan feels guilty and worried that Yin Shi is angry, so she tries every means to please him. She gives him water when he's thirsty and gives him a massager when he's tired. Yin Shi seizes this opportunity, constantly ordering her around, causing her indescribable suffering. Xiang Yuan frequently goes in and out of Yin Shi's office, and Lin Qingqing almost thinks that she is pursuing him. At the end of the workday, Xiang Yuan invites everyone to her house. She wants to personally cook for them, but she is a young lady from a wealthy family and doesn't know how to cook. Luckily, with Yin Shi's help, she barely manages to complete a lavish table of food. But his unintentional words cause Xiang Yuan to misunderstand that he is mocking her for being a princeling. After the meal, everyone plays truth or dare. When the bottle spins and points to Yin Shi, he decides to choose dare. Therefore, everyone immediately tells him to call the first girl in his phone's contact list and confess his feelings. Everyone is very surprised when they see Xiang Yuan's phone screen light up. Although Xiang Yuan doesn't say any words of refusal, her actions all express a rejecting intention. After everyone leaves, Yanshi stays to help Xiang Yuan wash the dishes. At this time, she also realizes that he wasn't angry because she was promoted, but angry because she rode in Lu Dong's car to the company. After Yanshi leaves, Gao Leng sends a message, and Xiang Yuan instantly understands that Yanshi transferred schools back then, not because she was bothering him, but because he went to escape debt with his father. Therefore, she hurriedly chases after Yanshi, but she doesn't dare to say the truth and can only say that the two of them will be good brothers from now on, and she will protect him. Yanshi tries to smile and secretly thinks in his heart, "Who wants to be brothers with you?" The next day, Xiang Yuan receives a notification that her childhood friend is about to get married, so she tells Yanshi that she will be returning to Shanghai in a few days. Unexpectedly, Yishi's bride is actually her best friend Su Yan. Xiang Yuan feels very surprised and immediately scolds the two for daring to hide it from her, but at the same time is happy that Su Yan has found a good husband. That year, Yishi's business development failed, and it was Xiang Yuan who timely invested 5 million yuan for the other party that made the company come back to life. Therefore, she understands his friend, Yishi, very well. But what surprises her even more is that their wedding officiant is Yanshi. It turns out that he is Yishi Sr. While the two are talking, they suddenly receive a call from Wang Kai. The final round of the competition, the three of them are participating in, is tomorrow and is being held in Shanghai. Xiang Yuan is very worried after hearing this. If her grandfather knows that she is participating in Xing Heng's competition, he will definitely beat her to death. Therefore, she takes out her phone and is about to book a hotel when she realizes that her balance is insufficient. Yanshi, after discovering this, immediately smiles and suggests that she come to his house, where he can also teach her programming. Afterwards, he enthusiastically helps her carry her luggage to the car. Seeing Xiang Yuan still hesitant, Yanshi provokes her by saying, "Aren't we brothers?" Xiang Yuan, only then, reluctantly goes to his house. Yanshi's younger brother, Cheng Li, is very disgusted when he sees Xiang Yuan. It turns out that the two had met a few months ago. At that time, Xiang Yuan was chatting with Su Yan, and Cheng Li overheard them, creating a bad impression, especially since she was playing games and eating snacks at the time, showing all sorts of bad habits. Afterwards, Cheng Li tells his older brother, playing games while eating snacks, and especially liking to gossip. "If you like that kind of woman as your girlfriend, I will definitely run away from home." Now, Cheng Li completely can't imagine that in just a few short months, his words have come true. In order to not have to run away from home, the boy constantly sabotages the development of the two's relationship, but is always chased away by Yanshi to do his homework. And Yanshi takes the opportunity to have intimate contact with Xiang Yuan, stirring her heart one after another. In the evening, Xiang Yuan is about to go to the bathroom, when Cheng Li deliberately scares her, saying that there's a very scary ghost there. As a result, when Xiang Yuan comes out, she is indeed scared and trembling, and even screams in fear because she encounters a passerby. It isn't until Yanshi appears that he helps her regain her senses. Seeing the two walking back hand in hand, Cheng Li secretly thinks, "Am I going to have to run away from home?" The next day, seeing the breakfast and milk, Cheng Li says dejectedly, "It's always milk. I don't know if my brother is raising cows at home or not." Helplessly, Yanshi can only exchange a bottle of yogurt for his younger brother. As a result, the boy drinks it all in one gulp. Xiang Yuan then says, "That's amazing. Want to give the boy a kiss?" Cheng Li hurriedly runs away. Unexpectedly, this action is like an enlightenment for Yanshi. He opens several bottles of yogurt, drinking them all in one gulp, then revealing an expectant expression. As a result, Xiang Yuan asks, "Have you never had this before?" After that, the two of them go together to participate in the competition. Here, Xiang Yuan meets her old friend Feng Jun again. More coincidentally, Yanshi also knows this person, and moreover, there seems to be something between them. Yanshi's attitude is extremely cold. The competition starts soon after, as the participating vehicles test run on the road, in a complex, simulated environment. Some small companies with weak strength are eliminated one after another. Car number 7, led by Yanshi, becomes the brightest existence in the entire venue, and has a high probability of winning the laurel wreath. At this time, Feng Jun hurriedly leaves and returns. At the same time, car number 7 passes through a fork in the road, and the speed suddenly slows down. Wang Kai is very confused. Yanshi discovers that there is a problem with the signal, but because he had previously set up Plan B, car number 7 has partially restored function. It's just that the speed is still affected and can't compare with its normal state. In the end, the car only wins second place. In first place goes to car number 5. Driven by Feng Jun, Yin-Shi checks the black box, discovering that there is nothing wrong with the car. It's just that the satellite signal being recorded is abnormal. Wang Kai suspects that someone used a signal jamming device and points the finger at Feng Jun. Xiang Yuan also says that she saw Feng Jun and Lu Junliang go out for a while, and after Feng Jun returned, the signal wasn't good. Therefore, Wang Kai recounts the old story between Yin-Shi and Feng Jun to her. Back then, on the night before graduating from college, Yin-Shi received a job offer from Xingheng, the leading company in the navigation industry, and was extremely happy. Unexpectedly, not long after that, he received a complaint for violation from Donghua Company. It turns out that his roommate Feng Jun borrowed his computer and with 3 other friends, illegally invaded Donghua Company's system, paralyzing the system and causing great damage. Although not involved, Yin-Shi still agreed to help resolve it. Afterwards, he goes to find Chun Sand to negotiate. Chun Sand gives him 2 choices: either help upgrade the security system and pay 2 million yuan in compensation, or join Weyland Company. At this time, Yin-Shi wholeheartedly wanted to enter Xingheng, so he chose to compensate 2 million yuan. After all, this matter had nothing to do with him. Feng Jun, as the initiator, guaranteed to gather enough 2 million to compensate. Unexpectedly, he disappeared without a trace. Feng Jun's father coldly said that he had gone abroad, and also washed his hands of all responsibility for this matter. Yin-Shi, just like that, became the scapegoat. With the help of his teacher, he barely managed to gather enough 2 million yuan in compensation, and as a result, his father took away 1.5 million yuan. Helplessly, Yin-Shi could only give up Xingheng and agree to join Weyland. Xiang Yuan finally learns about Yin-Shi's past experiences and also understands the reason Chun San gave him 1 million yuan. She is angry that his life and career were ruined like this, and goes to find Feng Jun to make things clear. Feng Jun doesn't show any remorse either. Xiang Yuan, although having grown up with him since childhood, truly doesn't have any goodwill towards this kind of person who only knows how to cause trouble and then run away. Feng Jun guesses that Yin-Shi won't go to the organizing committee to expose him, but Xiang Yuan won't suffer this loss. Therefore, he intends to use money to shut Xiang Yuan's mouth. This only makes her feel that he is even more disgusting. She demands that he stay away from Yin-Shi in the future. Afterwards, Yin-Shi learns that Xiang Yuan went to find Feng Jun. At first, he is a little upset, but upon hearing that she wanted to protect him, he doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. He hands her the drink in his hand. Xiang Yuan takes a sip and very naturally says, "Let's go home." Yin-Shi can't help but be surprised. It seems that she has regarded his home as her own. Therefore, he happily and excitedly follows her. Unexpectedly, he is caught by Xiang Yuan's grandfather at the door. Xiang Yuan pretends not to see him, wanting to drag Yin-Shi away quickly. As a result, he stops to greet the chairman. Seeing the two holding hands tightly, her grandfather's face immediately darkens. Demanding to speak privately with Xiang Yuan, her grandfather asks her what her relationship is with Yin-Shi. She says that the two of them are just in a normal relationship, but her grandfather knows the truth in his heart. He demands that she go home with him right now. Xiang Yuan immediately finds an excuse to leave. Before leaving, her grandfather reminds her to keep her distance from Yin-Shi, otherwise he will transfer her back to headquarters. On the other side, Yin-Shi is cooking dinner waiting for Xiang Yuan to return. He worriedly asks if the chairman made things difficult for her. Seeing his concern, Xiang Yuan is very happy. After dinner, Yin-Shi continues to teach her programming techniques, but Xiang Yuan ignores him, only caring about playing with a frog toy. Yin-Shi then teases her for not being like a girl and takes the frog away from her. Xiang Yuan immediately wants to snatch it back, and the two playfully horse around. Afterwards, the somewhat awkward atmosphere makes Xiang Yuan feel shy, and she stops contending, hurrying to sit down. The next day, Xiang Yuan and Wang Kai return to Xi'an first. Yin-Shi says that he has some things to do and will return later. Previously, Feng Jun had come to find Yin-Shi because of Xiang Yuan. His intention was that Yin-Shi doesn't have enough finances to provide Xiang Yuan with a happy life, and that their values are completely different. With his current conditions, what can he give her? Although Yin-Shi disdainfully replied that, while he can't give Xiang Yuan a life she wants, she also wouldn't choose the other party. Saying that, he still took Feng Jun's words to heart. Therefore, he intends to change himself. After seeing Xiang Yuan off, he goes to meet Lin Kai Rue of Kaishin Corporation. The other party offers him good conditions, a base salary agreement of 600,000, plus a share of project revenue and year-end bonuses. Immediately after, he notifies Chun San of this matter. Chun San also doesn't hold him back, because she herself also intends to leave. After all, Donghua Corporation has too many mountains and is no longer suitable for ambitious employees. She also apologizes to Yin Shi for dragging him into Wayland back then, but also feels fortunate that he didn't enter Xingheng. Once you go there, there's no turning back. Too many seniors have sacrificed themselves in the scientific battlefield, like Xiang Yuan's mother. She gave up her family for her career, so that Xiang Yuan's childhood was always lacking in maternal love. At this time, Yin Shi finally understands why Xiang Yuan, when she was young, was so full of longing when talking about her mother. It turns out that she was looking forward to those short moments of reunion. Therefore, he hurriedly goes to the airport, immediately returning to Xi'an. He calls Xiang Yuan, but there's no answer. Calling Wang Kaiyi, he learns that she didn't go home, but went to the company. Yin Shi immediately goes to the company, only to hear Gao Lung say that Xiang Yuan has gone to meet a client. He hurriedly tells Gao Lung to send him the address and runs off. Meanwhile, Xiang Yuan goes to meet the client and is repeatedly pressured by the other party to drink alcohol. She absent-mindedly opens her phone and discovers a bunch of missed calls from Yin Shi. As a result, before she has time to call back, she is dragged away by the client to drink and accidentally presses the screen. Yin Shi, after connecting, hears Xiang Yuan on the other end, making excuses to leave. She says her child has a fever, and she doesn't know where her husband has gone, and she must first go back to resolve the divorce. Yin Shi, after hearing this, has a smile on his face, and then replies to Xiang Yuan, telling her to come downstairs, and that he will be there immediately. Xiang Yuan staggers to the cashier to pay, suddenly feeling dizzy and lightheaded. Yin Shi rushes over in time to catch her. Seeing that the bill is for 58,000, he is surprised. After asking, he learns that Xiang Yuan and Gao Xiang Company discussed the drone positioning project. Yin Shi can't help but be skeptical. Gao Xiang already gave this project to Kai Sheng, so how could they be discussing it with Wayland? Therefore, he says that he will pay and tells Xiang Yuan to wait for him in the car. But in reality, he doesn't pay, but contacts Lin Kai Rue, learning that CEO Duan of Gao Xiang didn't come to Wayland this time, but rather two other directors from their branch. It must be that before terminating the contract, they want to take advantage of Xiang Yuan. Yin Shi angrily takes out his phone and snaps a few photos of them, then sends them to CEO Duan. Afterwards, the two scammers, who are joyfully partying, are scolded by CEO Duan. Yin Shi, after coming out, intimately puts his coat on Xiang Yuan. He uses the excuse that to make the play complete, he holds her small hand tightly. Afterwards, Xiang Yuan realizes that Yin Shi didn't pay just now. Now, those two scammers are being stopped and asked to pay. Xiang Yuan worries that the contract she worked so hard to negotiate will be ruined by him, and wants to rush over. As a result, Yin Shi says that she's been scammed. Xiang Yuan can't believe that she wasted a day in vain, and can't help but cry. Seeing her appearance, Yin Shi feels heartbroken, steps forward to wipe away her tears, and then hugs her in his arms. Soon it's time to say goodbye, and Xiang Yuan is reluctant to leave. She sits on her suitcase like a child, acting spoiled. Yin Shi smiles helplessly and pushes her inside. Afterwards, Xiang Yuan enters the house, sitting alone sadly, when Yin Shi suddenly sends her a message telling her to go out to the balcony. He sends her a small positioning app that he specially made. Under Xiang Yuan's gaze, Yin Shi starts the car, quickly moving, and the driving trajectory on the small app begins to spread. Before long, it forms a model that looks like the globe. Yin Shi starts confessing to Xiang Yuan. Regardless of whether there are high mountains or wide seas between us, as long as the stars are connected, then no matter where you are, I can protect you. Would you like to be my girlfriend? Xiang Yuan is moved to tears and immediately agrees. Unexpectedly and unfortunately, her Bluetooth headset runs out of battery at this time. Therefore, Yin Shi doesn't hear the other party's answer, mistakenly thinking that she is still hesitant, and tells her to think carefully and give him an answer. That night, Xiang Yuan loses sleep because of this. The next day, she coughs even more. As she goes to work, she happens to meet Lu Dong. Seeing that Xiang Yuan is still coughing, he wants to reach out and touch her forehead, but she avoids him. Lu Dong proactively offers to take Xiang Yuan to the company, but she remembers Yin Shi's jealousy and anger from last time, and quickly refuses the other party's good intentions, saying that she will take a taxi. As a result, Lu Dong says that there is a sales event being held near the neighborhood, and many people are lining up, causing the road to be congested, and it will be difficult to get a taxi. Xiang Yuan reluctantly has Lu Dong take her to the subway station. But as soon as the two of them exit the parking lot, they see Yin Shi, who's been waiting for a long time. Therefore, Xiang Yuan says goodbye to Lu Dong and walks towards Yin Shi. Arriving at the company, she is about to explain when he says it's not necessary. That he knows Lu Dong wants to pursue Xiang Yuan, but he doesn't care because the right to choose lies with her. Afterwards, Xiang Yuan receives news that the previous competition had investigated and found that Feng Jun cheated, so her team has been promoted from second place to first place. Xiang Yuan happily goes to tell Yanshi, but he has already known this for a long time. Yanshi also invites her to go see a play in the evening. In the evening, the two of them go to the theater and accidentally see Lu Dong and Chen Shu. Yanshi hurriedly rushes ahead of Xiang Yuan. Unexpectedly, upon sitting down, Lu Dong is sitting right next to him. Yanshi gives the other party a look of discomfort. Xiang Yuan also sees them and takes the initiative to say hello, but Yanshi pretends to grab a drink, deliberately blocking her view. A little later, Lu Dong grabs a drink of water, accidentally grabbing the water bottle that Yanshi had just drunk from. Yanshi looks at him with a surprised expression and then reveals a disgusted expression. The company is about to hold a press conference to introduce a new product, and Yanshi, as the person in charge of the product, will have to go on stage to give a speech. Therefore, Gao Lung and the others specially prepare several suits for him. Xiang Yuan is speechless after seeing them. Are you guys planning to turn him into a traffic light? Afterwards, under Su Yan's introduction, Xiang Yuan chooses a satisfactory suit for Yanshi. Moreover, she intentionally buys a pair of cufflinks, which together with the necklace on her neck, just happen to be a matching set. Yanshi, after learning this, is very happy in his heart. He says that after the press conference ends, he has something he wants to say to her. Coincidentally, Xiang Yuan also has something she wants to say to him. The two happily begin to compare the content of their speeches at the press conference. Time quickly comes for the press conference. Xiang Yuan, as the host, is a little nervous. Fortunately, she is quick-witted and quickly warms up the atmosphere, and then starts introducing the freight navigation system researched and developed by Weilin. Next, she hands the microphone to CEO Li for his speech and goes outside. Just at this time, a staff member comes over and tells Xiang Yuan to go to the prop room to reconfirm the props. Coincidentally, CA Shen also comes out looking for Xiang Yuan. As a result, both of them are locked in the prop room. And outside the door, there's a sign that says, under repair. With the time to go on stage again approaching, Xiang Yuan doesn't have her phone, and CA Shen's phone is still live streaming outside. The two truly don't know what to do. Inside the hall, Yanshi and the others realize that Xiang Yuan and CA Shen are nowhere to be found, and are very worried and hurriedly search around, but don't find anything. In order to delay the time, while waiting for Xiang Yuan to appear, Yanshi decides to collaborate with CA Shen's assistant and directly plays a round of his sport. Everyone is shocked to realize that he is the ancient god Dao from back then. Xiang Yuan, who is trapped in the prop room, hears the shouting of Dao's name coming from outside and angrily says, "Scumbag." Then, she finds an electric drill and directly breaks the door open. Seeing the sign that says under repair, she knows that she has been framed. When she enters the hall, she discovers that Yanshi is actually Dao and is instantly stunned. Seeing Xiang Yuan appear, Yanshi quickly finishes the match and walks over to her. As a result, she directly walks past him without saying a word. After the press conference ends, Xiang Yuan still ignores Yanshi. On the way back, the atmosphere is extremely tense. Xiang Yuan thinks back to her university days. Back then, she started playing video games with Su Yin, but because her skills were poor, she lost repeatedly. Dao even sent a message mocking her for playing terribly. Su Yin, angry, immediately uses Xiang Yuan's account to scold Dao. Xiang Yuan is very embarrassed and hurriedly pushes Su Yin away and then asks in the group chat if anyone is forming a team and if she can play with them. As a result, Dao, who is always cold, agrees to let her join for some reason. Just like that, the two often text each other. Xiang Yuan is fascinated by Dao's amazing skills and also feels that the other party is a very warm person and unconsciously develops feelings. Therefore, she confesses her feelings, asking if he wants to be with her. Unexpectedly, Dao sends a period, leaving her not knowing what it means, feeling restless, until she loses patience and prepares to blacklist him. She unexpectedly receives a message agreeing. From then on, the two have an online romance. Their relationship progresses quickly, but suddenly one day, Dao's attitude becomes cold, often not answering her calls and messages. Xiang Yuan, not wanting their love to die just like that, decides to go to Dao's school to find him, and then sends a message arranging to meet. As a result, she waits from day to night, waiting from sunny day until it rains, only receiving a breakup message. Xiang Yuan's heart is broken and sadly stands in the rain. Suddenly, an umbrella appears over her head, but the person who came isn't Dao. He has two umbrellas and gives her one. Xiang Yuan is very disappointed, turns around and leaves alone, and also throws the gift she intended to give her lover into the trash can. After arriving at the airport, she can't help but burst into tears. Returning to the present, Yanshi knows he is in the wrong, wanting to speak but not knowing how to open his mouth. Just like that, the two travel the whole way without saying a word to each other. Arriving at Xiang Yuan's house, seeing that she's about to get out of the car, Yinshi finally can't help himself, stopping her and asking what she was going to talk to him about today. But Xiang Yuan only tells him to remember to return the suit after wearing it. And if he likes the cufflinks, he can keep them. Saying that, she immediately leaves. Yinshi, wanting to explain, suddenly receives a call from CEO Li, saying that someone has reported that he and Xiang Yuan took the company's design results to participate in someone else's competition, and that he needs to immediately return to the company to accept an investigation. Yinshi takes all the responsibility, saying that this matter has nothing to do with Xiang Yuan. Xiang Yuan, walking on the road, seeing Yinshi leaving just like that, feels even more upset. The next day at the company, Xiang Yuan quietly looks towards Yinshi's office, but there's no one inside. She asks Gao Long and learns that Yinshi is being investigated. Xiang Yuan immediately understands, from the accident at the press conference to today's report. Everything is connected. Soon after, Lin Qingqing chases after her, telling her that at the press conference, Li Qi didn't have anything to do, but still appeared at the venue. If that's the case, the fact that Xiang Yuan was locked in the prop room was most likely done by him. Therefore, she immediately goes to find Li Qi, only to be informed that the other party is in Li Shun's office. At the same time, on Li Qi's desk, she sees a work pass from the press conference. But Li Shun responds very calmly. Who doesn't have one of these when they come to the press conference? Xiang Yuan could just grab any pass to frame Li Qi. Xiang Yuan angrily leaves with a sentence, "Don't think you're on the right side," and leaves. Returning to the technical department, the company's internal investigator is searching Yinshi's office, wanting to find evidence of selling the company's core technology, and accidentally drops and breaks his picture frame. Xiang Yuan angrily walks in, but Yinshi shakes his head, gesturing for her, and she reluctantly leaves. Afterwards, she goes to the stairs to contact her grandfather. She says that this matter is because of her and has nothing to do with Yinshi, questioning him why he is causing trouble for him. As a result, she learns that it was Li Shun who reported to headquarters. Moreover, her grandfather reminds her to stay away from Yinshi and also intends to transfer his granddaughter back to headquarters. Xiang Yuan immediately emphasizes that she and Yinshi will not be possible, unaware that this conversation has all been heard by Yinshi. At this time, he realizes that she is actually the chairman's granddaughter. After Xiang Yuan hangs up the phone, she turns around and sees Yinshi standing not far away. Neither of them says a word, and Xiang Yuan coldly walks past. Afterwards, Lu Dong comes to find Chen Shu to negotiate a collaboration, and also stops by to visit Xiang Yuan, bringing her cold medicine. Seeing this, Yinshi can't sit still. He uses the excuse of going to a meeting to interrupt their conversation, but after waiting for a long time, Xiang Yuan doesn't come down. In the evening, Yinshi finally can't help himself and prepares rock sugar pear water to bring to her. Just as Xiang Yuan receives a phone call, preparing to leave, Yinshi hurriedly hides to one side and then follows her to the company downstairs. As a result, he sees Xiang Yuan getting into Lu Dong's car and leaving, feeling extremely upset. The next day, in order to help Yinshi resolve the crisis, Xiang Yuan goes to headquarters in Shanghai, explaining to her grandfather that participating in the competition was her own decision. Moreover, it was this competition that helped Wei Lin prove its strength, with orders constantly increasing, reaching a peak in the past 3 years, and even signing an order with Rue Dong Corporation. It turns out that Xiang Yuan went with Lu Dong last night to discuss a collaboration, faced with his granddaughter's struggle. Her grandfather gives up the idea of firing Yinshi, but also reminds Xiang Yuan that she and Yinshi are not from the same world. These words make Xiang Yuan remember that Yinshi also said a similar sentence to her back then. She guesses that he has most likely liked her since high school. On this side, Yinshi sees that Xiang Yuan hasn't come to work, and Gao Long tells him that she went to Shanghai. Yinshi can't help himself, wanting to send a message to Xiang Yuan, but keeps writing and deleting, not daring to send it. He remembers that year, he followed Xiang Yuan's Weibo, seeing her sharing screenshots of the game, and can't help but shake his head, saying, "Boring," and then turning to ask his roommate, "What game is this?" After learning the name, he immediately registers an account, excitedly joining the game. Yinshi plays very well, and can be said to be a rising sports star, attracting countless fans in a short amount of time. But he doesn't care about any of this, only thinking about how to approach Xiang Yuan and play games with her. Over time, Xiang Yuan gradually likes him, and also sends a confession message. Yinshi doesn't expect her to be so naive, daring to confess her feelings after only knowing each other online. Luckily, it's him and not a bad person. The two also begin a journey of online love. But beautiful scenery doesn't last long. One day, Yinshi receives a call, asking him to go to room 205 of a hotel. Upon opening the door, he only sees a crib in the room, and on the bed is a letter from his father. At this time, he realizes that the baby in the crib is his half-brother. His father says that the child's mother has disappeared, and he has to go find her. So he's dumping the responsibility of taking care of the child on him. Yin-Shi, although angry, can't do anything. In order to take care of his younger brother, he is very tired every day, and because of that, he basically doesn't have time to chat with Xiang Yuan. Until one day, Xiang Yuan truly can't bear it anymore, and decides to go to his school to confirm their relationship. Yin-Shi is very panicked, and looking at his own circumstances, he truly doesn't want to implicate her, and can only hide on the side, looking at the figure that makes his heart ache from not far away, and finally decides to say the words of parting. These memories are clear before his eyes. Right now, he is no longer the weak university student from before, so he decisively sends the message. At this time, Xiang Yuan is riding in a helicopter with her brother to relieve her worries, when she suddenly receives a message from Yin-Shi saying that he wants to meet her. Although she doesn't send a reply message, she immediately lands and hurriedly returns to Xi'an. Chen-Shu sends a message in the group chat that everyone should gather tonight to celebrate the press conference. Xiang Yuan happily goes to participate, but unexpectedly learns that Yin-Shi has submitted his resignation. And to think, she was the last person to learn this news. Xiang Yuan, angry, directly drinks a whole bottle of liquor in one gulp and gets up to leave. Yin-Shi hurriedly chases after her, wanting to explain, but is mocked by her. The relationship between the two suddenly becomes distant. Afterwards, Yin-Shi takes Xiang Yuan home, and before leaving, sends her an email with suggestions for rectifying the company. Xiang Yuan doesn't expect that he wouldn't have anything else he wanted to say to her, and angrily gets out of the car. Just as she arrives downstairs, she meets Lu Dong, who has just returned from France. He even intentionally bought her a box of macarons. The two return her door together and say goodbye. Just at this time, Yin-Shi suddenly appears. He walks straight towards Xiang Yuan, domineeringly pulling her into the house. When closing the door, he doesn't forget to give Lu Dong a warning look. As soon as they enter the house, Yin-Shi forcefully kisses Xiang Yuan and then asks her if she wants to be with him. Xiang Yuan says she does, but he avoids her kiss, demanding that she quickly chase Lu Dong away outside the door, and that he can't come here again in the future. If not, he will move her to a new house. Xiang Yuan takes her phone, sends a message to Lu Dong, and then obediently shows the phone to him. Yin-Shi throws the phone to the side and pulls her to sit on his lap, and the two continue kissing. Xiang Yuan is a little unbelievable, asking if the two of them are truly together now. Yin-Shi teases her, saying does she normally kiss her friends like that? Afterwards, Yin-Shi says frankly that he has a lot of opinions about the men pursuing Xiang Yuan, so it's better that she keeps her distance from them. At the same time, he also explains the photo of him and Chun-san at the hotel. That day was the company's year-end party, and Chun-san was drunk and almost fell, so he supported her, and as a result, it was rumored for a long time. In addition, he also offers an explanation for why he didn't show up to meet her back in university. Xiang Yuan is very surprised after hearing this, blaming him for not telling her back then. All misunderstandings have been resolved, and the two happily embrace each other. Because she drank some alcohol, Xiang Yuan quickly falls asleep. Yin-Shi carries her and puts her on the bed, gently kissing her forehead, and then quietly sits by the bed. The next day at work, Xiang Yuan helps Yin-Shi pack up his personal belongings in the office. Yin-Shi quietly looks at her from the side. Afterwards, he suddenly takes off his glasses and pulls Xiang Yuan into his arms. As the two are intimately embracing, Gao Lung suddenly pushes the door open and enters, and the two hurriedly separate. Looking at such a big third wheel, Xiang Yuan pouts resentfully. In the evening, Yin-Shi takes Xiang Yuan home. Tomorrow, he will leave Xi'an to work in Shanghai. Xiang Yuan is reluctant to part, entering her house while still hoping in her heart that he can stay with her for one more night. But as a result, Yin-Shi indifferently closes the door. Xiang Yuan looks at everything around her, remembering the sweet scenes between the two, and feels even more lost. As a result, the more she thinks about it, the sadder she gets, and she immediately runs out to the balcony to see if he is still downstairs, but discovers that the other party has already left. She is about to text Yin-Shi when she suddenly receives a message from him. Immediately, she excitedly runs to open the door. It turns out that he was always waiting outside the door. The moment the room door closes, she can't control herself and kisses him, and then hugs him tightly. Happiness filling her heart. Yin-Shi asks her if she still wants to kiss, and Xiang Yuan suggests going to the sofa. Yin-Shi, after hearing this, carries her and puts her on the couch, but before they can do anything, Xiang Yuan suddenly worries that the sound will travel outside and people will laugh at them. Therefore, she tells him to close the window and then pulls the curtains and turns on the TV. However, doing this only makes Yen-Shi lose interest. Therefore, when Xiang Yuan stretches out her arms, pouting her lips to kiss, she only sees Yen-Shi sitting on the side looking at her and smiling. Xiang Yuan realizes that something is wrong and quietly opens her eyes. As a result, seeing him sitting next to her, she is very embarrassed and angrily grabs a pillow to hit him for daring to tease her. Yen-Shi happily laughs, asking her who ruined the atmosphere first. Afterwards, the two watch a movie together. Xiang Yuan only wants to be with him a little longer and insists on not going to sleep. Yen-Shi can only carry her to bed, sitting beside her and coaxing her to sleep. Looking at her sleeping soundly, he quietly leaves. Early the next morning, Yen-Shi boards the plane to Shanghai. Looking out the window, he feels a little sentimental. Some people live in high-rise buildings, some people live in deep trenches, some people shine brightly, some people are covered in rust. Someone covered in rust like him, even if he has to peel off his outer shell, wants to dedicate the best things in the world to Xiang Yuan. This is precisely the reason he came to Shanghai to strive. On this side, Xiang Yuan arrives at the office and unexpectedly discovers a directions sticker on the ground. She pulls out a drawer, and inside is a USB and a piece of paper. This is what Yen-Shi left for her. On the USB is the surveillance video from the press conference. At the time that Xiang Yuan was locked in the prop room, Li Qi stood right outside, only separated by a wall, hearing their cries for help, but not reacting at all. Clearly, he is involved in this matter. Therefore, she goes to find Chen Shu to discuss countermeasures. Chen Shu decides to go to the hotel to ask around, seeing if there are any other gains. Soon after, at a company meeting, CEO Li announces the appointment of Zhang Jun as the team leader of the technical department. Unexpectedly, Li Shun immediately speaks up. She believes that if Zhang Jun, with his prior conviction, can still be a team leader, then it wouldn't be too much to allow Li Qi to return to the technical department, right? Xiang Yuan, after hearing this, takes out the USB and plays the video. Chen Shu also takes out a recording. At that time, the chef heard noises and went out to check, and as a result, discovered Li Qi placing the under repair sign in front of the prop room. Faced with the irrefutable evidence, Li Qi is extremely angry. He climbs onto the table, wanting to rush forward and attack Xiang Yuan. Zhang Jun holds him back, unintentionally pulling down his pants, causing a group of female colleagues to scream in fear. Li Qi angrily pulls up his pants, wanting to hit Zhang Jun again, but unexpectedly is controlled by the other party and is then pulled out of the meeting room by security. CEO Li, naturally, is also upset by such an outrageous scene. He criticizes Li Shun. Why are you covering for this kind of person? He will report this matter to headquarters. Firing Li Qi, Xiang Yuan has a big win, feeling very happy in her heart, and immediately texts her lover. The two exchange sweet nothings, chatting for a while. Afterwards, Yen-Shi is led by Lin Kai Rui to introduce him to everyone at the new company. He is appointed as Deputy General Manager, responsible for the technical department. In the evening, Yen-Shi, having just finished being busy with work, sees a video call from Xiang Yuan. Therefore, he intentionally unbuttons 2 buttons of his shirt to provoke her. As a result, after connecting, he discovers that on the other side, it isn't Xiang Yuan at all, but rather Gao Leng and the others. It turns out that in order to celebrate Zhang Jun's promotion, everyone has gathered together. They are playing truth or dare. And taking advantage of Xiang Yuan going to the bathroom, Gao Leng and the others used her phone to call him, waiting until Xiang Yuan comes out. Chen Shu intentionally teases Yen-Shi, lying that a handsome guy was flirting with Xiang Yuan just now. Xiang Yuan hurriedly snatches back her phone, hiding outside to talk. The two say a few words to each other and then hang up. The next day, Xiang Yuan reads an article related to long-distance relationships, intending to share it with Yen-Shi, and, as a result, accidentally sends it to the company's group chat. At this time, CEO Li just so happens to call, telling her to come to his office. Xiang Yuan stands up and leaves, completely unaware that she has sent it to the wrong place. Waiting until she comes out of CEO Li's office, she discovers that it's too late. And Yen-Shi on that side immediately receives a screenshot. He sends it back to Xiang Yuan, along with a question mark. He jokes that he knows she misses him a lot, but she doesn't need to do it like this. Afterwards, he books a weekend plane ticket to Xi'an. In the evening, Xiang Yuan receives the theater tickets that were sent. After seeing the address, she immediately smiles and intentionally takes a picture and posts it on social media, asking, "Who sent me this?" Sure enough, when Yen-Shi sees it, he immediately calls to ask. Xiang Yuan then says that she will be going to see the play with a super handsome guy, so she can't be with him this weekend. In reality, she has long known that these tickets were sent by him, and her heart is full of joy, looking forward to the weekend arriving. But unexpectedly, Lu Dong also sees it, and he immediately sends the photo to his assistant, telling them to find a ticket for the seat next to her, no matter how. And on Yin Shi's side, an unexpected situation also appears. A slight problem occurs with Kai Sheng and Gao Xiang's contract. Lin Kai Rui demands that they get CEO Duan's order today. Unexpectedly, CEO Duan isn't coming this time, only sending assistant Lu Junliang to represent him. Lu Junliang is Yin Shi's college classmate, and back then at school, because he was suppressed by Yin Shi in all aspects, he has always harbored resentment. Meeting again today, he uses the opportunity to cause trouble, demanding that Yin Shi bow his head and admit that he is not as good as him, admitting that he is a turtle hiding in its shell. Lin Kai Rui can't listen anymore and stands up to protect Yin Shi. Because of this, Gao Xiang calls to request terminating the contract. Therefore, Yin Shi decides to continue researching and developing, improving the accuracy of the drone navigation system. He and his colleagues work overtime day and night. Just when they are about to succeed, a wrong prompt suddenly appears, which makes his head hurt. Helplessly, he can only call Xiang Yuan, saying that he can't come there this weekend. Xiang Yuan pretends not to care, smiling and saying that the tickets can't be wasted, and that she can go see it alone. However, after the two hang up, she is still a little lost. Afterwards, Yin Shi starts continuously working overtime with his colleagues. Day after day passes, and he finally manages to resolve the problem before the weekend, and then hurriedly flies back to Xi'an to prepare a surprise for Xiang Yuan. As a result, just after sitting down, he discovers that Lu Dong is sitting next to him. The two simultaneously stand up in surprise. And on this side, Xiang Yuan is stuck in a traffic jam on the way and can't arrive in time, being blocked at the theater entrance. At this time, the play has already started, and she can only wait for intermission to enter. Therefore, inside the theater, Yin Shi faces Lu Dong alone, big eyes staring at small eyes, looking at each other with disgust. Xiang Yuan waits and waits until intermission finally arrives, as a result seeing Yin Shi walking out. Xiang Yuan is stunned, asking why he is here. Yin Shi, jealous, doesn't answer, but instead pulls her out of the theater. On the way, Xiang Yuan suddenly receives a call from the police, saying that Gao Lung is at their station. The two hurriedly rush over. Only then do they learn that, after being heartbroken in love, Gao Lung, wanting to be more mature, bought an old car. On a dark road, seeing a woman walking on the side of the road, with his surprisingly low IQ, he immediately follows, only to help illuminate the road ahead for the other party. As a result, he is misunderstood as a pervert and is arrested at the police station. After the two bail Gao Lung out, Gao Lung is filled with guilt, thinking that he only causes trouble. To comfort him, Xiang Yuan then says that he also has advantages, making Gao Lung have an expectant expression, wanting to hear what his advantages are. Xiang Yuan has no choice but to glance at Yin Shi for help. Yin Shi then tells Gao Lung to quickly go home. Looking at Gao Lung's terrible driving, Xiang Yuan is speechless. Maybe he'll be arrested by the police again later. On the way back, Xiang Yuan sees Lu Dong posting the theater tickets on his social media and understands the reason for Yin Shi's jealousy, feeling both amused and annoyed. She immediately acts spoiled, saying that she's hungry and wants him to cook for her. Afterwards, she uses this opportunity to resolve his concerns. She praises his noodles for smelling so good, but says that they feel a bit sour. Yin Shi still can't help but question her, asking if he hadn't returned today. Would she have watched the play with Lu Dong? Xiang Yuan pretends to suddenly understand. So that's what you're angry about. Afterwards, she very smugly puts a bottle of vinegar in Yin Shi's arms, and then takes out her phone and calls Lu Dong, asking where he got the tickets for today. Lu Dong says that the organizing committee gave them to him. At this time, Yin Shi realizes that he misunderstood. The next day, Xiang Yuan receives a personnel notice from headquarters. Upon opening it, she discovers that the employee promoted from grade C to grade B, as reported, was supposed to be Shi Tianyu, but has now been changed to Lin Qingqing. Xiang Yuan immediately contacts her grandfather, and only then learns that the report list has been altered by someone. Afterwards, at a meeting of the technical department, Li Shun suggests promoting Lin Qingqing to deputy team leader. Xiang Yuan suddenly becomes suspicious and therefore strongly opposes it. She says that she already has a suitable candidate for the deputy team leader position and doesn't need her worry about it. Afterwards, Xiang Yuan goes to find Chen Shu to analyze this problem. Before long, the two come to a conclusion that even they can't believe. Therefore, Xiang Yuan goes to find Li Shun again to beat around the bush. She says that on the night of the press conference, Li Qi only did the thing of placing the under repair sign, and that the person who truly locked her in the prop room was Lin Qingqing. At that time, Li Shun had already decided to give up on Li Qi, so she intentionally had him stand outside the prop room, making it convenient to monitor and photograph evidence. And the reason that Li Shun did this was because Li Qi is an untamed wolf, daring to bite anyone. She calls this casting a stone to ask the way, hitting two birds with one stone. Xiang Yuan is extremely angry, originally thinking that she had gotten her revenge, but unexpectedly was used by others. Today, Xiang Yuan is going back to Shanghai, originally wanting to tell Yin Shi, but he doesn't answer her calls. Therefore, as soon as evening arrives, Xiang Yuan immediately goes to Yin Shi's company and just happens to see Yi Sikin very naturally taking coffee from his hand to drink. Jealousy instantly flares up, and she angrily turns around wanting to leave, and as a result accidentally bumps into the car next to her. The alarm sound immediately attracts Yin Shi and the others, and coincidentally, this car is Lin Kai Rui's. She only sees him hurriedly running over, and then starting to flirt with Xiang Yuan, even wanting to ask for her WeChat. Xiang Yuan, wanting to make Yin Shi jealous, intentionally agrees in front of him. Yin Shi, seeing this on the side, indeed starts to get agitated. Unable to hold back, he reveals their relationship in front of everyone, and even pulls her along to the party. During the party, learning that Yin Shi had worked overtime all night for many days to come to Xi'an to see her, Xiang Yuan feels very touched. After returning home, Yin Shi takes the opportunity while Xiang Yuan is organizing her luggage and intentionally unbuttons his shirt, and then takes out his phone, opening a game and playing it into the shape of a heart, and taking a screenshot to send to her. As a result, he discovers that she isn't looking at him at all. Helplessly, he can only pull Xiang Yuan next to him, asking her if she misses him. Unexpectedly, Xiang Yuan asks back if Yi Sikin likes him. Yin Shi, seeing her jealous appearance, feels that it's a little cute, and then explains, Yi Sikin and Lin Kai Rui like each other. The two of them had a conflict, and Lin Kai Rui bought coffee for Yi Sikin, but as a result, she didn't want it and gave it to him. Little did he know that when he was about to drink it, Yi Sikin snatched it away. That's all there was to it. Xiang Yuan, after hearing his explanation, only then does her anger subside and happily enjoys her lover's embrace, quickly falling asleep. Yin Shi discovers that Xiang Yuan is still crying even in her sleep, and immediately guesses that her work isn't going smoothly. Therefore, he blames himself for not discovering it sooner. Therefore, the next day, Yin Shi asks Lin Kai Rui for a leave of absence, and goes with Xiang Yuan to the zoo to relax, and uses the law of the jungle to tell her that in reality, relationships between people are also like that. If things aren't going as desired, then trust that heaven has other arrangements. Having a boyfriend who understands her like this, Xiang Yuan feels very fortunate. Returning from the zoo, Yin Shi suddenly decides to stay at a hotel with Xiang Yuan, unexpectedly causing a misunderstanding, causing Xiang Yuan to hurriedly run to a lingerie store to buy new things. When she returns to the hotel, she sees that Yin Shi is still waiting outside the door for her. She nervously looks toward her bag, hurriedly stuffing the black item that is revealed on the outside into the bag. The two enter the room, and as a result, Xiang Yuan discovers that this is a twin room. This makes her feel a little embarrassed in her heart. The next morning, Xiang Yuan packed her luggage and prepares to return to Xi'an. Seeing Yin Shi standing outside the door, she asks him to grab her toiletry bag for her. Yin Shi takes the items, and a receipt suddenly falls out. Xiang Yuan sees it and immediately rushes over to snatch it. Yin Shi walks in front of her, telling her not to buy black ones in the future. As soon as he finishes speaking, the phrase makes Xiang Yuan want to quickly find a hole to crawl into. During an internal meeting of the technical department, Li Shun announces the company's transfer notification. Lin Qingqing is promoted to deputy team leader. After Xiang Yuan returns, she doesn't oppose this decision, and everyone feels surprised. Even Li Shun feels strange. And Lin Qingqing, becoming the deputy team leader, starts using the power in her hands, signing off on all the projects that she didn't participate in. This makes some colleagues dissatisfied. Wang Ji angrily goes to find Xiang Yuan to complain. Unexpectedly, she only says vaguely that, according to company regulations, Lin Qingqing can indeed sign off. Wang Ji is even angrier, turning around and calling Yin Shi to complain, constantly bad-mouthing Xiang Yuan. I don't know where she's fooling around with some jerk, but she's come back here like a completely different person, becoming cold-blooded, heartless, and completely unreasonable. As a result, after talking for a while, he realizes that that jerk is Yin Shi. Wang Ji embarrassedly hangs up the phone. In the evening, Xiang Yuan, having just returned home, meets Lu Dong in the parking lot. He uses the excuse of discussing the freight navigation system, wanting to invite her to have lunch together tomorrow. Xiang Yuan originally wants to refuse, but Lu Dong says that Chen Shu is also coming, so she agrees. As a result, the next day, during the meal, it's only Xiang Yuan and Lu Dong. Lu Dong says that Qinshu had something to do and couldn't make it. Xiang Yuan, after hearing this, immediately sends a message to Qinshu. Indeed, it's as she thought. Qinshu didn't receive an invitation at all. Afterwards, Xiang Yuan directly asks Lu Dong if he's trying to pursue her, but Lu Dong denies it. Xiang Yuan speaks frankly with him. She doesn't want her boyfriend to misunderstand the relationship between the two of them, so perhaps they should maintain a certain distance. For work-related matters, you should just contact Qinshu. Lu Dong also agrees very readily. After Xiang Yuan finishes speaking, she stands up, preparing to leave, but Lu Dong calls her back. He says that, with her good conditions, she completely doesn't need to endure the pain of a long-distance relationship. She can have 2 boyfriends at the same time, in both Shanghai and Xi'an, and he wouldn't mind. Xiang Yuan completely doesn't expect Lu Dong to be this kind of person, feeling fortunate that she didn't have a deep relationship with him. The next day, Lin Qingqing suddenly submits her resignation. However, her employment verification certificate needs to be signed by either Li Shun or Xiang Yuan. She goes to find Li Shun many times, but the other party always finds excuses to avoid meeting her. Lin Qingqing, left with no choice, has to go to find Xiang Yuan. But Xiang Yuan also doesn't want to sign, because she has guessed that Lin Qingqing and Li Shun are colluding with each other. Lin Qingqing previously intended to resign, so she wants to take advantage of the team leader position to make her resume brighter, finding a better new home. Xiang Yuan signing would be no different than helping her steal other people's efforts. Lin Qingqing is encountering difficulties with her resignation. The company on the other side is constantly calling, urging her to submit the employment verification certificate, and if she doesn't submit it by the next day, they will recruit someone else. Moreover, when she arrives at the company, she is also gossiped about by her colleagues, saying that she hasn't done anything since being promoted to deputy team leader, but the credit for all the projects belongs to her. This makes Lin Qingqing extremely distressed, and she contacts her mother to confide in her. As a result, she is unintentionally overheard by Gaolong. At this time, Gaolong realizes that Lin Qingqing's actions are only for the sake of bringing her mother to Xi'an to enjoy a good life. He greatly sympathizes with this matter, and tells Xiang Yuan about the situation. Lin Qingqing in the technical department, although she can't be said to be the smartest, she is definitely the most hardworking. Whenever there is a task, she will always work overtime the latest, trying her best to complete it. They shouldn't deny all of her past efforts because of one mistake. Gaolong's words touch Xiang Yuan. Soon after, Lin Qingqing receives a job offer from the new company. It turns out that Xiang Yuan had sent a recommendation letter to them. Lin Qingqing, after learning this, is very grateful and comes to find Xiang Yuan to thank her, and also expresses her apologies. Moreover, she gives Xiang Yuan a USB, inside which is a recording file as evidence that Li Shun told Lin Qingqing to lock her in the prop room. In the evening, Xiang Yuan happily contacts Yin Shi to be praised. Unexpectedly, he says that he had long guessed that she would write a recommendation letter for Lin Qingqing, only not expecting her to shamelessly demand praise like that. Xiang Yuan, after hearing this, immediately becomes unhappy, and Yin Shi reveals a smug smile. The 2 long-distance lovers maintain this way of being together, their relationship growing more and more harmonious. In order to defeat Li Shun with just one blow, Xiang Yuan doesn't immediately announce this evidence. Instead, she continues to investigate the other party's violations. Soon, New Year's Eve arrives. Everyone in the technical department gathers together for hot pot and beer, accompanied by bursts of carefree laughter. But Gaolong still feels a sense of emptiness because Yin Shi is missing, so he makes a video call. On Yin Shi's side, they're also gathering, and the scene is even more lively. Just like that, connected remotely at the party, Xiang Yuan doesn't forget to give him a flirty look, and Yin Shi also quietly expresses his feelings. Everyone welcomes the new year in joyful laughter. After the holiday, General Manager Yang Pengshan is sent by headquarters to preside over Weilin's year-end management summary conference. Everyone is welcoming him in the lobby. Only Xiang Yuan arrives late. Yang Pengshan feels that Xiang Yuan looks familiar, but can't remember where he has met her. After completing the work reporting process, Li Shun starts to use the opportunity to show off her power. Relying on her relationship with Yang Pengshan, she intentionally mentions that during the last press conference, Xiang Yuan inexplicably disappeared for more than 1 hour, almost ruining the press conference. Xiang Yuan, after hearing this, immediately provides evidence to refute. Faced with this recording, Li Shun angrily argues that someone is impersonating her voice. Yang Pengshan also publicly covers for her and intentionally throws dirt on Xiang Yuan. saying that she's inciting disharmony in colleague relationships. Therefore, Xiang Yuan takes out another piece of evidence. In recent years, the company's sales revenue has always been stagnant, but the sales expenses have only increased and not decreased, and are still continuing to increase. It is clear that someone is pocketing the money. Based on what she has investigated, many of the company's business expenses have seriously exceeded the quota. For example, the actual business expense is $200,000, but the amount requested for reimbursement is $400,000. Just investigating these numbers will reveal whose pocket it's in. Yang Pingshan is immediately flustered, hurriedly saying that he will immediately conduct an investigation, and at the same time reminding Xiang Yuan, "You are just the head of the technical department and are not qualified to accuse your superiors." Afterwards, he questions her about where she got these internal financial figures of the company. Li Shun, seeing this, feels very smug. Unexpectedly, just at this time, the chairman suddenly appears, and through a bottle of drink, publicly reveals the relationship between grandfather and granddaughter. Yang Pingshan immediately changes his attitude, switching to flattering Xiang Yuan. No one completely expected that Xiang Yuan was actually the biggest princeling in the company, and Li Shun can only accept the arrangement of suspending the investigation. No matter how dissatisfied, there's nothing she can do. After that, Xiang Yuan returns home in a happy mood, only to see Yin Shi wearing a floral apron waiting for her at the door. The two happily laugh and congratulate each other on their success. It turns out that the day before, Xiang Yuan and Yin Shi had gone together to meet Li Qi to apologize and explain the reason for everything, and also played the recording of Li Shun's words for him to hear. Li Qi was extremely angry after hearing it. Therefore, after Xiang Yuan left, he told Yin Shi his own story. It turns out that Li Qi's family was once wealthy, but then his father went bankrupt. While he was struggling and didn't know what to do, Li Shun pulled him up, so he helped her do many bad things in the company. Yin Shi intends to comfort him, saying that he has a friend, but as soon as he says it, he is interrupted by the other party, telling him not to make things up. Gao Lung and the others had long learned about his story. When he was young, he and his father were abandoned by his mother. His father was not only swindled out of money and love, but also accumulated a pile of debts. Afterwards, he and his father were always running from debts everywhere, their lives worse than even a rat's. Out of shared sympathy, and also wanting to get revenge on Li Shun, Li Qi gave Yin Shi the company's books. Xiang Yuan buys Yin Shi's suit, urging him to quickly try it on. Meanwhile, her grandfather in the car is talking to Secretary Bai, feeling a little worried in his heart. Today, Xiang Yuan offended Yang Pingshan, and after taking over the company in the future, he fears that she will encounter his opposition. But suddenly, he feels that something is not right. His granddaughter is becoming increasingly stingy, so why would she book a 5-star hotel for him today? And on this side, Yin Shi wears the suit given by Xiang Yuan, and intentionally shows off his toned abs. Xiang Yuan shyly pokes him, feeling great. Just at this time, there is a ring at the door. Xiang Yuan looks through the peephole, immediately startled, and hurriedly tells Yin Shi to hide in the closet. Afterwards, she hurriedly runs to open the door. Seeing 2 sets of snacks displayed on the dining table, her grandfather feels a little suspicious. Then going to the living room, he sees a men's jacket. Xiang Yuan hurriedly explains, saying that it's a women's style, and that oversized styles are popular now. Her grandfather changes his mind, no longer wanting to go to the hotel, and decides to stay at her house today. Xiang Yuan, after hearing this, immediately panics, wanting to stop him but powerless, and can only stand there and watch as Xiao Bai pushes the luggage into the living room. As a result, Xiao Bai, upon opening the closet to hang the clothes, unintentionally discovers Yin Shi hiding inside. Therefore, Xiao Bai goes out and tells her grandfather, "Xiang Yuan's room is too messy. We should go to the hotel." Xiang Yuan, after hearing this, secretly rejoices on the side, unaware that Xiao Bai and her grandfather are constantly winking at each other. Afterwards, Xiang Yuan hurriedly goes in to pull Yin Shi out. He doesn't tell her that he has been discovered. Until he leaves, he gets into her grandfather's waiting car. Her grandfather asks him if he and Xiang Yuan are in love, right? Yin Shi apologizes for not telling him. However, her grandfather then says that there's no need to apologize because the two of them won't have a happy ending anyway. He had investigated Yin Shi's family background before. The two people's growing up environments are too different, making it difficult to be together for a long time. He came today not to persuade the two to break up, only hoping that if one day Xiang Yuan proposes breaking up, Yin Shi, please don't bother her. Yin Shi doesn't say anything, only quietly bowing his head. Her grandfather also says that after he left Weilin, Weilin lost Gao Xiang's order, but as soon as he arrived at the new company, the order followed. He doesn't believe that there isn't some kind of trickery involved. How will Xiang Yuan think after learning about this matter in the future? Yin Shi doesn't understand, and doesn't even know if there is any trickery involved at all. Therefore, as soon as he gets off the plane, he contacts Lin Kai-Rui, demanding that he explain clearly the matter of Gao Xiang's order, or else he'll be single with him for life. And on the other side, her grandfather believes that Wei Lin's development is limited, deciding to close the company, wanting his granddaughter to return to the corporation to work, starting to prepare for her succession. But Xiang Yuan strongly opposes, feeling that the truck-oriented projects are all very promising. Therefore, she agrees to write a feasibility report for her grandfather. As a result, not long after she returns home, she receives a personnel change email from headquarters, dismissing Li Shun and promoting Xiang Yuan to deputy general manager. Immediately after being promoted, Xiang Yuan immediately buys milk tea to treat everyone. And on Li Shun's side, seeing the personnel change email, she feels terrible. She decides to retaliate. The thing that this company hates the most is the princeling type, and she wants to see who will still be convinced after everyone learns about Xiang Yuan's identity. Gao Lung and the others, upon receiving the princeling list, immediately huddle together to discuss. Seeing that Xiang Yuan and C2 Mingtian are related as granddaughter and grandfather, they don't know who C2 Mingtian is, so they go on Baidu to search. As a result, they are shocked to discover that it's the chairman. It turns out that Xiang Yuan is the biggest princeling of all. On this side, CEO Li is walking while looking at his phone, nearly falling, and angrily calls the cleaning lady to scold her, even demanding to deduct all of her salary for the month. As a result, returning to the office to see the princeling list, he discovers that the cleaning lady is actually the deputy chairman's aunt. CEO Li is extremely scared and immediately changes his attitude, hurriedly bringing coffee and tea to apologize. And Gao Lung and the others, after learning that Xiang Yuan is the chairman's granddaughter, suddenly change. Normally, they jokingly ask her if her full name is C2 Xiang Yuan, but don't get an answer. And Run Run, who is always against Xiang Yuan, also changes her attitude, sincerely inviting her to eat barbecue, and even intentionally taking pictures and posting them on her social media, showing off her relationship with Xiang Yuan, causing a group of colleagues to support her. Li Shun, after seeing this, feels very uncomfortable. With her trick unsuccessful, she immediately comes up with another plan. Very quickly, there's a buzz going around the company, saying that Wei Lin is about to be closed down. Panicked, the employees all come to find Xiang Yuan to verify. To stabilize morale, Xiang Yuan hurriedly convenes a general meeting of employees. She announces that the fact that headquarters wants to close Wei Lin isn't false. Just as everyone is horrified, Xiang Yuan adds that a few years ago, the company's performance continuously declined, and therefore the head office had indeed intended to close Wei Lin. But now, their freight navigation system is receiving very good reviews, orders are constantly increasing, and everything has changed. In the future, Wei Lin will also combine services for people and cars, creating a unique logistics ecosystem for transportation vehicles. Everyone here is a core member of Wei Lin's team. In the future, Wei Lin will be listed on the stock exchange and will also release shares for each person. Everyone, after hearing this, is extremely excited, continuously applauding for Xiang Yuan. And previously, her grandfather changing his decision to close Wei Lin was related to Yin Shi. Lin Kai-Rui constantly came to find him to explain the matter of Gao Xiang's contract, causing him a headache. Finally, he decided to give Wei Lin one more year. As long as Wei Lin can be responsible for its own profits and losses, it will not be closed. More importantly, because Yin Shi is in Shanghai, he doesn't want Xiang Yuan to return just yet. In the evening, Gao Lung and the others invite Xiang Yuan to eat, but when Xiang Yuan arrives, she discovers that Yin Shi is actually the organizer. She is extremely happy and immediately throws herself into the other party's arms. With such an obvious relationship, Gao Lung and the others are foolish and completely don't realize that they are dating. The party ends, and after seeing everyone off, Xiang Yuan and Yin Shi stand sweetly on the side of the road, embracing and kissing. The next day, the two return to Shanghai together. The approaching New Year's Eve makes Yin Shi very excited. He and his younger brother decorate the house together. In the evening, the two brothers are eating their New Year's Eve meal when there is a knock on the door outside. Their long-absent father suddenly comes to find them. Yin Shi, upon seeing him, is immediately angry, locking him outside the door. The two brothers are silent for a long time, and finally Yin Shi can't bear his own torment and invites his father into the house. But unexpectedly, other than apologizing and compensating for the years of absence, he also wants to take Cheng-Li with him. Yin Shi is very unhappy. He practically raised his younger brother, and their feelings are very deep, but he can't find a reason to oppose. Cheng-Li's biological mother has returned, and a complete family is the best thing for the boy. Afterwards, Yin-Shi carefully helps his younger brother organize his clothes, telling him that if he's unhappy, he can come to find him anytime. Chun-Li also tells his older brother, although his future sister-in-law is nosy, likes to play games, and often bullies him, it's enough that she can make his older brother happy. Saying that, he reluctantly hugs Yin-Shi. Yin-Shi can only force a smile to comfort his younger brother, until he sees his father and Chun-Li walking away. He can't control himself anymore. Remembering the bitterness and happiness of taking care of his younger brother, endless reluctance and loss surge in his heart. At this time, Xiang Yuan sends a message, but Yin-Shi only replies with one word, okay. This unusual behavior makes Xiang Yuan sense that he is in a bad mood. Her grandfather sees her sneaking around, and then says that the annual entertainment program is starting now, and temporarily confiscates the phones of both Xiang Yuan and her brother. Xiang Yuan is very helpless, and Yin-Shi, seeing that his girlfriend hasn't replied for a long time, then casually turns off his phone, not wanting to be disturbed by anyone. At this time, there's another knock on the door. Yin-Shi is very excited, but after opening the door and looking, he feels disappointed. It turns out to be Wang Kai. Learning that Yin-Shi's father only left behind 2 million and also took Chun-Li away, Wang Kai is very angry. He calls his classmates, and then ferociously says that he's going to take Yin-Shi to relax a bit. As a result, it turns out to be going downstairs to set off firecrackers, even getting scolded terribly by the old lady next door. But Wang Kai doesn't care at all, instead feeling very refreshed, and tells Yin-Shi, don't think she's scolding us. Just think of her as scolding your dad, scolding everyone who has wronged you. Thinking like that will be much more comfortable. Gradually, Yin-Shi feels that it seems very reasonable. At this time, Lin Kai Rui suddenly walks over. After Lin Kai Rui learns about Yin-Shi's family situation, he says, that's good too. Later when Xiang Yuan and Yin-Shi get married, they won't need to face the problem of a mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. Lin Kai Rui smiles and comforts him, and then invites everyone to go to the bar for a drink. Meanwhile, her grandfather, while playing Parcheesi, loses his dice. Xiang Yuan then takes the opportunity while the other person is searching for it, taking back her phone, pretending to turn on the flashlight to help find it. In reality, she's texting her boyfriend. Seeing that Yin-Shi hasn't sent any other messages, she feels strange. Therefore, she secretly sneaks out to find Yin-Shi, but discovers that his door is locked and his phone is also turned off. At this time, footsteps can be heard behind her. Xiang Yuan happily turns her head around, but unexpectedly, the person who came as Feng Jun Xiang Yuan thinks that he is stalking her, so she is very angry, but he says that he isn't. Afterwards, he gives Xiang Yuan a picture, saying that Yin-Shi and the others are at the bar. Therefore, Xiang Yuan immediately goes there. When Yin-Shi discovers Xiang Yuan, he immediately stands up and walks over. Seeing her and Feng Jun together, he is very uncomfortable. As the two are arguing, they suddenly hear a lot of noise nearby. Therefore, they turn around to look, seeing Xiang Yuan's brother and another person getting into a conflict. Both sides smash a bottle of liquor and then charge at each other. Xiang Yuan, seeing this, intends to step forward and stop them, but as a result nearly gets injured. Fortunately, Yin-Shi protects her, and his elbow is injured as a result. Feng Jun, seeing the two being so intimate, leaves dejectedly. Xiang Yuan is in a room treating Yin-Shi's wound. The two also use the opportunity to explain the misunderstandings to each other. New Year's fireworks go off, and the two exchange a sweet, happy kiss. Afterwards, Yin-Shi suggests finding a day to register their marriage. Finally, they decide on May 30th, the anniversary of their 6 months together. Yin-Shi even takes out his phone to set up a countdown timer. He says, I didn't even feel this nervous when I took the college entrance exam. In the evening, Yin-Shi, taking advantage of Xiang Yuan being asleep, sends her a bunch of messages remembering their past. Their fate has existed since kindergarten. When they were little, Xiang Yuan gave Yin-Shi a piece of chewing gum, even tricking him into believing that it was an import from overseas by her grandfather and that he could swallow it. Yin-Shi believed it to be true, and as a result, after he swallowed it, Xiang Yuan then said that it was just normal gum, and that in less than 7 days it would stick to his intestines and kill him, and that he needed to get surgery right away. Very quickly, Xiang Yuan had to transfer schools, causing Yin-Shi to be very scared and desperate. This was the first time he felt malice from a girl. Since then, he has been very resistant to the kindness of girls. Who would have thought that when they were in high school, the two would meet again? But just as their feelings were developing, he was forced to transfer schools for family reasons, and their fate was interrupted again. Until college, Yin-Shi pretended to be accidentally acquainted, teaching her how to play games, and as a result, Xiang Yuan confessed her feelings. But unfortunately, just when he was about to tell her the truth, he suddenly had another younger brother who needed to be taken care of. He didn't know what to do at the time, not knowing how to explain all of this. And because of that, the two missed each other again. Many years later, the two meet again. Is this ultimately fate or destiny? Yinshi doesn't know, but doesn't want to let go again. So he decides to enter into marriage with Xiang Yuan. Looking at his messages, Xiang Yuan is very happy. It turns out that their fate has lasted for more than 10 years. And at this time, Yinshi is playing basketball with his friends. Seeing Xiang Yuan walking over, he immediately leaves his friends, running to her. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Xiang Yuan reveals that swallowing chewing gum won't kill you, even demonstrating it on the spot for him to see. As a result, Yinshi steals the gum with a kiss, and then smugly chews the gum he just stole, even mocking Xiang Yuan, saying that for kids to swallow chewing gum is naive, but for her to swallow it at such a big age, people will say she has mental problems. Afterwards, the scene of the two kissing is photographed by Xiang Yuan's brother, immediately bringing it back to tattle to her grandfather, even intentionally exaggerating in front of her grandfather. Having her grandfather's tacit permission, he prepares to personally break up Xiang Yuan and Yinshi. Immediately after, her brother arranges a meeting for the three of them. Knowing his younger sister's romantic history well, her brother very confidently brings up Xiang Yuan's online romance with Dao, saying that back then, Xiang Yuan, in order to pursue Dao, ran to Wuhan alone, and only came back after 3 days. Seeing Yinshi questioning Xiang Yuan, her brother thinks that his plan has succeeded, revealing a smug expression. But he doesn't know that Yinshi is Dao, Xiang Yuan's online lover. Her brother excitedly returns home and brags to her grandfather about having successfully infiltrated the enemy's camp. Her grandfather asks him how he did it. He then says that he told the story of Xiang Yuan and Dao's past love, and that right now the two of them are probably discussing breaking up. Her grandfather, after hearing this, is truly angered to death. He had also watched the live stream during the press conference, so he knows very well that Yinshi is Dao. He begs his grandson to go online more often. Right now, don't even mention young people. I'm nearly not going to have any common topics to talk about even with you. Meanwhile, Yinshi's best brothers gather together, discussing how to help Yinshi conquer Xiang Yuan's grandfather. Under Zhang Yi's idea, everyone divides up and appears before her grandfather, constantly praising Yinshi's awesomeness. Therefore, one person after another comes to bother him, leaving her grandfather with a deep psychological shadow. Even in his sleep, he has nightmares, even seeing his wife who has been dead for many years appearing before him, wanting to tell him about Yinshi's good points. He is so frightened that he immediately wakes up, feeling that if he continues like this, it truly won't do. Therefore, he arranges to meet Yinshi at the bathhouse. Zhang Yi, upon seeing this, is immediately happy. It was indeed not a wasted effort. But Lin Kai Rui then says, arranging to go soak in hot springs, isn't that equivalent to boiling the frog slowly? Yinshi's heart immediately feels cold, but he still goes to the appointment. Her grandfather tells him that his granddaughter does everything with only initial enthusiasm, then quickly loses interest. Like when she was in high school, Xiang Yuan admired a boy, but it didn't last long, so her relationship with Yinshi probably won't last very long either. As a result, Yinshi's answer almost kills him from embarrassment. That boy you just mentioned from high school, that's me. Her grandfather at this time truly has a headache, really not knowing what to do. Afterwards, Yinshi then says, people don't live for a lifetime, but live in just a few moments. As long as I am with Xiang Yuan, whether it's a lifetime or just a few moments, it's enough for me. If one day she doesn't want to see me anymore, I will also respect the other party's wishes. His sincerity moves her grandfather. He decides not to break up the two, but will still continue to observe Yinshi. On this side, Xiang Yuan gets off work, seeing Lu Dong talking to Chun Shu downstairs at the company. Just at this time, Gao Lung is also driving over. In order to not let them meet, Xiang Yuan hurriedly runs over to stop Gao Lung, asking him to take her home. But unexpectedly, Gao Lung drives too slowly, and when they arrive at her neighborhood, Xiang Yuan just happens to catch the scene of Lu Dong and Chun Shu saying goodbye, looking very intimate. Xiang Yuan hurriedly comforts him, saying that Lu Dong is their big client, and it's normal for Chun Shu to come to discuss business and not to overthink it. But how can Gao Lung not overthink it? After returning home, he immediately starts collecting all the items related to Chun Shu into a box, putting them away. The next night, Gao Lung and Xiang Yuan go to meet a client and unintentionally overhear Lu Dong talking to his friends. In his words, he insults Chun Shu, saying that she's a woman only after men's money, and that he's just playing around when he gets the chance. At the same time, Lu Dong is also hugging another woman. Gao Lung angrily wants to hit him, and fortunately, Xiang Yuan pulls him back. But unexpectedly, Gao Lung still doesn't give up, secretly calling Zhang Jun, asking him to go beat up Lu Dong. Gao Long says that he will do the first attack, and then let Zhang Jun unleash his skills. But as soon as he rushes out, Zhang Jun discovers that Lu Dong's bodyguard is actually his master from prison. Left with no choice, he can only pray that his master hits him lightly. Just like that, Gao Lung is beaten up badly. The next day, Chen Shu, knowing that her ex-boyfriend got into a fight again with someone, angrily goes to find Xiang Yuan to confide in her. But Xiang Yuan speaks in favor of Gao Long, and also says that she knows Lu Dong is pursuing Chen Shu, but that he is not a good person. Therefore, she doesn't hope that Chen Shu will be deceived by him. But Chen Shu believes that Lu Dong is just her client, and that there isn't another relationship. Xiang Yuan, after hearing this, then says that in the future, she will have another colleague be responsible for Lu Dong's orders. Chen Shu immediately becomes angry. Who gave you permission to change my clients on your own? Do you feel that someone like me can only be with Gao Long? Chen Shu has misunderstood Xiang Yuan's intentions. The two argue unhappily and break up, and all of this is overheard by Gao Long outside. He feels extremely disappointed and leaves. In the evening, Xiang Yuan returns home, unexpectedly being hugged from behind by Yin Shi. Xiang Yuan sadly tells him about her argument with Chen Shu, and also tells him to go persuade her. But Yin Shi only wants to find Lu Dong to talk first. Xiang Yuan hurriedly swears that Lu Dong isn't pursuing her, and is only pursuing Chen Shu right now. Yin Shi, after hearing this, then pushes her down, and just as he is about to kiss, the necklace on her neck just happens to fall off. On the top, Yin Shi's initials are engraved. Xiang Yuan discovers that this is the gift she had originally intended to give him on her birthday, but because he broke his promise, she angrily threw it away, not expecting that he still keeps it even now. Therefore, she is extremely moved. The next day, Yin Shi prepares to go abroad, saying goodbye to Xiang Yuan, and also explaining to her the meaning of the letters on the necklace. On this side, Chen Shu, while helping Lu Dong take care of his son, unintentionally learns from the boy that he has many girlfriends. Not only that, but the boy also opens WeChat on the iPad to prove it to her. Chen Shu is shocked to discover a list of girlfriends spanning multiple provinces and even numbered, with her being number 3. The date of May 30th is getting closer and closer. Every day, Xiang Yuan sends messages reminding Yin Shi, like a countdown. With the time for the two to register their marriage getting closer and closer, Xiang Yuan is immersed in the joy of her upcoming marriage every day. As a result, one day before the two are supposed to meet, Xiang Yuan hurriedly calls Yin Shi. The batch of positioning devices sold to the Air Force Base has a problem, and she has to immediately lead the engineers over there to fix it. Therefore, they can't meet tomorrow. Yin Shi immediately gathers his luggage, asking Xiang Yuan to send him the address, and that he will go fix this batch of positioning devices. Just like that, the two appear at Xiang Yuan's brother's Air Force Base. Yin Shi discovers that there is nothing wrong with the positioning devices. It's just that the inspection has expired, and they only need to reload a series of registration codes. And Xiang Yuan then personally test flies and connects to Yin Shi's positioning, and then controls the helicopter to fly along a preset route. She asks Yin Shi if he sees anything. Yin Shi smiles and says it's a heart. Sure enough, in the eyes of someone who is in love, everything looks like a heart. After dealing with the aircraft navigation issues, it's already night on May 30th. Xiang Yuan goes to find Yin Shi, but is caught by her brother and has to return to her room first. Afterwards, Xiang Yuan hugs a blanket and goes to find Yin Shi, saying that she's afraid he will get cold at night. As a result, under the ambiguous atmosphere of love, the two engage in the activity of making a baby. The next day, Professor Liang takes Yin Shi to attend the World Navigation Conference. Yin Shi also shines brightly internationally, and soon there are related news articles. Xiang Yuan reads the news, feeling happy for him. Just at this time, she suddenly receives a call from Secretary Bai. Her grandfather has suddenly suffered an acute myocardial infarction and has been taken to the hospital for emergency treatment. Fortunately, the emergency treatment was timely, and there is temporarily nothing to worry about, but he can't be provoked anymore in the future. The reason is that something happened at the head office. Yang Pingshan proposed withdrawing capital, and also led the core technical staff and shareholders to leave. Xiang Yuan quickly understands that Yang Pingshan doesn't just want to withdraw capital. He wants to take Donghua's core team to start a new company. This time, her grandfather was provoked to this extent because of it. Xiang Yuan's siblings only now realize that their grandfather has endured too much over the years, but they have only always been comfortably enjoying themselves. Xiang Yuan looks at her grandfather lying in the hospital bed and then hurriedly runs outside, waiting until Xiang Yuan arrives at the company. Seeing that Donghua Corporation has already become a mess, she immediately decides that she will sit in Yang Pingshan's position. starting to handle all of the mess. And the most urgent thing now is to find a technical staff member who can shoulder the responsibility. She originally wants to send a message to Yin Shi, but thinking that he is attending the World Navigation Conference, she can't disturb him, and decides to wait until the conference ends before contacting him. However, in the evening, when Yin Shi and Professor Liang return, the professor receives news that a student wants to conduct an experiment that violates regulations. Therefore, the two run over to stop it, unexpectedly running into an explosion. To protect the professor, Yin Shi shields him with his own body. On this side, Xiang Yuan, having finished her work, calls Yin Shi, but is unable to get in touch. The next day, Xiang Yuan goes to visit her grandfather, suddenly seeing that the clothes on the nurse's hand look very familiar. So, she hurriedly stops the other person. Just at this time, Lin Kai Rue walks over, and Xiang Yuan learns about Yin Shi's accident, feeling extremely worried in her heart. Only after seeing that he is still safe and sound, does she finally breathe a sigh of relief. She doesn't say anything, turning around and leaving. Yin Shi hurriedly chases after her, and then hugs Xiang Yuan from behind. Xiang Yuan tries hard to hold back her tears, turning around to look at him. As the two are being all lovey-dovey, their teacher comes out and calls them inside. Professor Liang informs Yin Shi that the National Navigation Research Institute is requesting that he submit his documents ahead of schedule, and after approval, he will have a direct interview with the professor. Xiang Yuan is very happy that Yin Shi can finally realize his dream. He has waited 5 years, and finally has the opportunity. And as for the position of technical director, she can only find someone else. But during the time at the hospital with Yin Shi, Xiang Yuan is extremely busy, her eyes practically glued to her phone, naturally neglecting the emotions of her boyfriend on the side. Yin Shi, not knowing the situation, becomes unhappy. Unable to hold back, he grabs hold of Xiang Yuan and then questions whether she is tired of him. But Xiang Yuan doesn't explain, only telling him not to overthink. Yin Shi, not knowing what to do, goes to find Lin Kai Rue to ask if girls are very fickle. Lin Kai Rue, after hearing this, then asks him in return if Xiang Yuan has changed her heart. Yin Shi says that he doesn't know, only feeling that she has been colder recently. Afterwards, Lin Kai Rue then reveals the current situation of Donghua. Xiang Yuan is currently facing a very serious problem. Yin Shi, after hearing this, doesn't understand why she didn't come to find him. In the evening, Xiang Yuan, while talking to Zhou Yuqin about work, sees Yin Shi also arriving at this place. And Yin Shi also discovers this, immediately becoming jealous in his heart. He drinks one glass after another, and then angrily leaves. Xiang Yuan, seeing Yin Shi leaving, also runs outside to find him, as a result being pulled into the car by him, and fiercely kissed. Yin Shi angrily asks Xiang Yuan why she didn't tell him that the company was facing such a big problem, and would rather go find Zhou Yuqin than come to him. Xiang Yuan says that she can handle it well, and her stubbornly bearing it all alone also leaves him not knowing what to do. Finally, after a night of thinking, Yin Shi sends a message to Professor Liang, deciding to give up the interview with the Research Institute in order to solve Xiang Yuan's urgent problem. He knows that Xiang Yuan won't agree, so he goes to the hospital to find her grandfather. Yin Shi says that he is actually not doing this entirely for Xiang Yuan. He has worked at Weilin for 5 years, and also has irreplaceable feelings for this place, so no matter what perspective or position he stands in, he should stay. This makes her grandfather look at him with a different gaze, completely accepting this grandson-in-law. After this exchange, the relationship between the two indeed gets much closer, and her grandfather also agrees to let him be the technical director. Meanwhile, Professor Liang goes to find Xiang Yuan, revealing the matter of Yin Shi giving up the Research Institute interview. Two people, one not hoping for talent to be buried, and one not wanting her boyfriend to give up his dreams. Therefore, Xiang Yuan agrees with him, certain that she will persuade Yin Shi to participate in the interview. Afterwards, she goes alone to Yin Shi's house, seeing the framed satellite medal. She wipes the dust off of it, feeling even more that he shouldn't give up his dream for her sake. Returning in the evening, Xiang Yuan meets Yin Shi's friends in front of her house. They unanimously request that he go to the Research Institute for the interview, and say that they will help Donghua. Yin Shi doesn't listen to their advice, and just as he enters the house, he sees a note left by Xiang Yuan. She hopes that he has his own badge of honor, and also saw that she had helped him wipe the dust off of his medal. His heart is very moved. The next day, a high-level meeting of Donghua. The personnel director comes to announce that the position of technical director has a suitable candidate. The other party is none other than Yin Shi. At this moment, Xiang Yuan's head is buzzing, and she angrily confronts Yin Shi, demanding that he go back to prepare for the interview. She can't accept this, knowing that her boyfriend has great ambitions, but being unable to help him, and even pulling him into this muddy pit. She gives him two choices, either leave here to fulfill his dream, or the two break up. But Yinshi doesn't want to choose, still deciding to stay and accompany her. Knowing the situation at headquarters, the folks in jailing started volunteering to go and help out. Director Lai approved their requests on the spot without hesitation. Even Shinshu and Su Shi's three best buddies came along. Their arrival finally solved Dong Hoa's talent shortage problem. But the financial hole left by Ping Shan after he pulled his investment still hadn't been filled. If the money problem wasn't fixed, Dong Hoa could shut down at any time. Xiang Yuan's older brother decided to sell his flight base, and her grandpa decided to sell his villa and move back to his old house, but it was just a drop in the bucket. At the company, Su Shi and Xiang Yuan ran into each other, but Xiang Yuan was super cold, not saying a single word. This treatment really bothered him, and she was just as bothered herself. Not long after, Secretary Bai brought some good news. The team led by Su Shi had already helped stabilize several key projects. Secretary Bai even made a point of mentioning that a female tech director who used to chase after Su Shi had asked him out to dinner this week. Sure enough, Xiang Yuan got jealous as soon as she heard that. Later, she found out from Secretary Bai that Su Shi had taken out her grandpa's bedpan last week. She got even angrier and immediately called her grandpa, questioning why he was letting Su Shi take out his bedpan. Unexpectedly, Su Shi answered the phone. She then asked, "Aren't you supposed to be out eating dinner with that tech director? My grandpa doesn't need you to worry about him." After saying that, she hung up the phone in a huff. At this moment, her grandpa came out of the bathroom. He said that Xiang Yuan had called to ask if he had eaten, and also said that they were thinking about breaking up. This made her grandpa feel very emotional. His granddaughter's personality was very similar to his wife's, kind to others, but hard on themselves. Every time the old couple argued, she was clearly sad inside, but she wouldn't admit she was wrong. On the other hand, Xiang Yuan went to her usual bank to borrow money to solve the urgent problems. Unexpectedly, Director Liu didn't even bother to look at the loan application and immediately said that the loan couldn't be approved. Secretary Bai told her grandpa that Chairman Feng of Wanxing was willing to put money in to fill Dong Hoa's financial gap. But the condition was that Xiang Yuan had to marry his son, Feng Jun. Her grandpa got very angry when he heard this, saying he'd rather the company shut down than sell his granddaughter. Xiang Yuan overheard this and was thrown into turmoil. Even though she had argued with her boyfriend before and heartlessly said they should break up, she still couldn't let go of the relationship in her heart. So, between the company and her boyfriend, what should she choose? Xiang Yuan asked her older brother, "If someone offered you 500 million and told you to marry someone you didn't love, would you do it?" Her brother replied, "If it were before, definitely not, but now I would. After all, they get to enjoy a life that others can't. So of course they have to bear the price that others can't bear." But he didn't want his sister to have to sacrifice her feelings. Not long after, Feng Jun came to find Xiang Yuan, wanted to take her to the birthday party of their former teacher, but she refused. So Feng Jun brought up the marriage issue again, wanted to ask her what she would choose between the company and Su Shi. Did she want Su Shi to give up his dream to shoulder the life or death company with her? But Xiang Yuan said that only kids make choices. Feng Jun then told her to just agree to the marriage, and then she could go back on her word after receiving the money. His goal was to let Su Shi know that he was her best choice, but Xiang Yuan ignored him and left. In the evening, Xiang Yuan looked at the group chat messages, remembering the sweet moments with Su Shi, and her heart finally made a decision. She brought a cake to Miss Zhong's birthday party, then walked over and sat next to Su Shi, making him extremely happy. Knowing that Xiang Yuan liked crawfish, he intentionally ordered a portion for her. Feng Jun, seeing this, got angry, accusing Su Shi of not treating him as a brother. Knowing that he liked Xiang Yuan, but still trying to seduce her, the people around them immediately started gossiping. Seeing this, Su Shi didn't hesitate to admit that he was pursuing Xiang Yuan and had been rejected twice. Everyone instantly admired Su Shi. Truly a man who dared to act and take responsibility. Seeing that his goal wasn't achieved, Feng Jun pulled Xiang Yuan outside, asking her if she would just watch Dong Hoa go bankrupt to be with Su Shi. Xiang Yuan didn't want to talk to him, but he blocked her from leaving. Su Shi went over and pushed Feng Jun away. Although he was very angry, he still maintained his composure, only quietly taking Xiang Yuan away. On the way home, Su Shi ran into Feng Jun, seeing the other blocking his path with his car. He stepped on the gas and sped up, but stopped at the critical moment. The two just faced off like that for a while. Seeing that Feng Jun still had no intention of yielding, Su Shi angrily got out of the car and punched him in the face. Then, he grabbed Feng Jun by the collar, saying that he didn't hit him at the party because he didn't want Xiang Yuan to become the subject of gossip. Someone like him would never know how to respect and love others. After teaching the other a lesson, Su Shi turned back to find Xiang Yuan. He promised her that he would definitely take the second round of the Research Institute exam on time. Xiang Yuan was overjoyed to hear this. But an even bigger surprise was waiting for her behind. Su Shi opened the trunk of his car, inside which he had prepared farewell gifts for Xiang Yuan. Enough for her to open every year until she turned 100. She would open one box every year on her birthday. But Xiang Yuan had no intention of breaking up, and sweetly asked him, "Can we not break up?" Su Shi hugged her, and the two finally made up. Xiang Yuan returned home and looked at the birthday gifts, quickly opening the gift for when she turned 100. Seeing that it was a peach of immortality, she happily laughed, and the letter that came with it made her even more moved to tears. The next day, Xiang Yuan took Su Shi to the Space Museum. She said that when she was little, her mother brought her here and expressed her luck that her mother didn't give up on scientific research for her sake, but continued to persevere. It was this perseverance that made her life shine brightly. This was the reason Xiang Yuan wanted him to persevere in pursuing his dream. Su Shi, moved, agreed with her, saying he would focus on the Research Institute interview and give up his work at Donghua. Afterward, Su Shi took Xiang Yuan to the company entrance to go home, but unintentionally overheard that Donghua was short on money, and if they didn't have the money to pay off their debts by Friday, they would have to declare bankruptcy. So, he immediately took a flight abroad to see his mother. By the day the debt was due, the funding problem still couldn't be solved. Xiang Yuan had no choice but to make the decision to declare bankruptcy. But unexpectedly, just as she was feeling depressed and frustrated, she suddenly heard good news. Due to a guarantee from Jia Yi Group, her loan had been approved by the bank. It turned out that Jia Yi and Su Yin had just returned from abroad, and when they heard about Dong Hoa's current situation, they immediately stepped in to help. Back when Jia Yi was starting his business, Xiang Yuan gave him 5 million, so he treated it as equity, and now its value had increased many times over, more than enough to guarantee her loan. At this time, several senior leaders were still scooping up low-price shares, hoping for Donghua to go bankrupt so that they could legitimately take over the company's achievements. Some bad news arrived that left them all dumbfounded. Yesterday afternoon, the company's account suddenly received 1 billion. It turned out that Xiang Yuan's older brother had gotten married, and his wife was Jiang Xiaoman, the heiress of Jiang Group. That same afternoon, his father-in-law transferred 500 million into Donghua's account, plus another $100 million. At this moment, Xiang Yuan happily returned home to tell her grandpa that the financial problems had been solved. As a result, she was told that some of the money was from the Jiang family, and some was Su Shi's mother's betrothal gift. Before that, Su Shi went abroad to find his mother, a famous architect, to help Donghua overcome the crisis. The mother was very happy that her son had taken the initiative to find her for the first time, so she immediately transferred $100 million as a betrothal gift, feeling her concern for Su Shi. Xiang Yuan decided to reply to the email, announcing that she had returned the money. She didn't want any complicated things added to the relationship, and also invited the mother to come back to the country for their wedding. In addition, Xiang Yuan also told her brother to return the money, and not to delay the other girl's future, even if they had to apologize to the girl's family together. As a result, her brother told her that he was serious this time, and truly had feelings for her. Xiang Yuan then said, "That's all the more reason to return it. The feelings between the two of you shouldn't be related to Donghua." Therefore, relying only on bank loans, Xiang Yuan successfully resolved the crisis. Everyone gathered to celebrate. Chen Shu took the opportunity to announce that Zhu Yuchun would replace Su Shi as the technical director of Donghua. And Su Shi also received good news. The Institute of Navigation had made the decision to admit him. Everyone happily applauded and congratulated him, except for Jailing. They just grabbed a bottle of liquor, excitedly spraying it everywhere, scaring everyone. Afterward, Jailing dejectedly left the party. Unexpectedly, Chen Shu chased after them, pinning them against the wall, asking why they hadn't come to ask for her forgiveness, and explaining that she had never dated Lu Dong. Finally, a kiss resolved the misunderstanding between the two. That evening, Su Shi had just returned home when Xiang Yuan hugged him from behind. He said that he had to take a shower, and then he had something important to tell her. Xiang Yuan was very expectant when she heard this, especially when she was helping him hang up his coat and accidentally found a ring. Her mood was extremely excited. She imagined the scene of her boyfriend coming out of the shower and proposing to her. She even carefully put on lipstick, wanting the proposal to feel more formal. As a result, what Su Shi wanted to tell her was that he had to go on a business trip and might not be able to be with her for a very long time. The company had a new product about to be released. Chun Shu contacted the media outlets they had cooperated with before, but because Dao appeared at the previous press conference in Douyin, it greatly increased their popularity. They hoped that there would be a similar hot topic again this time. Chun Shu was very distressed. Where could she get so many hot topics? Xiang Yuan said after hearing this that she would handle it. Immediately afterward, a masked girl appeared in her office, introducing herself in front of the camera. At this moment, Jailing walked in, shocked to recognize that this girl was Xiang Yuan. But he didn't know another identity of hers, a blogger with 5 million followers. He only knew that the blogger had always appeared in front of fans with this look. Therefore, he kept nagging on the side, saying that this look wasn't suitable for her. Xiang Yuan was speechless, but didn't explain anything. Instead, she directly uploaded the video. Seeing himself also appear in the video, Jailing couldn't believe it. Finally, he reacted and realized that Xiang Yuan was the goddess he had been following. Time passed day by day, and the Beidou satellite was finally launched in Xichang. Xiang Yuan was eager to go home and watch the live broadcast. But because of a traffic jam, she didn't get her wish, so she had to use her phone to watch the satellite launch process. When the countdown began, all the viewers tensely watched until the screen showed that the satellite had successfully entered orbit. Everyone happily cheered. Her grandpa was moved to tears. He finally understood why Xiang Yuan's and Su Shi's mothers had followed each other in sacrificing themselves for the Beidou cause. On this side, Xiang Yuan got out of the taxi and watched the live broadcast on the building. At this time, the reporter was interviewing the technicians. Su Shi took this opportunity, through television, to take out a ring and propose to Xiang Yuan. Xiang Yuan excitedly took off her mask and happily shouted, "I do." 6 days later, her grandpa intentionally threw a party, connecting everyone together and celebrating the successful launch of the Beidou satellite. Su Shi and Xiang Yuan talked to each other about future war plans. Xiang Yuan was very supportive, saying that she would always be his backing, and also said that she wanted to get married soon after that. Yang Pingshan and Li Shun were arrested for embezzling public funds, and matter was also put on TV. Many years later, a child appeared in the Civil Affairs Bureau, saying that he came to sell the house. The staff was very surprised, telling the boy that this was where people registered for marriage and divorce, not where real estate was bought and sold. The child immediately changed his mind after hearing this, telling the other party to help his parents get divorced because they didn't come home all day. Just at this moment, Xiang Yuan appeared, telling the boy, "If you do that again, Mom will tell Dad to beat you." The boy then replied, "Anyway, Dad is at the research institute every day. He can't beat me even if he wants to." Unexpectedly, Su Shi appeared behind him as soon as he finished speaking. Just like that, a family of 3 hand in hand created a happy picture. The video ends here. If you like it, please give me a like and subscribe to the channel so that I have the motivation to make even better videos. Thank you.